Liz, my dear.
Hello, Daddy.
Ah, we got your message.
Yes, well, I thought I'd drive back. It's a beautiful, clear night. Well, you're working late.
Yes. Oh, Mrs. Gates left a thermos and some sandwiches for you.
Oh, bless her. Well, I won't disturb you if you're busy.
No, I'm all but done. Why don't you bring them in here, then we can have a chat, Nice to see you. How did you enjoy your 4 weeks in Birmingham?
Oh, fine.
How does it compare with your alma mater?
Well, not so cosy. But they've got some very modern equipment. I feel horribly like a new girl, of course. But the difference between being a student and a house officer is tremendous. All the nurses are so polite. Gosh, this looks good.
And now you have to decide whether to sign on permanently.
And they've got to let me know whether I'm acceptable. Though off the record, I've been told I am.
Splendid. So you think you are going to sign on?
Yes, I think so. Well, apart from anything else, I'll be nearer home. Who's here at the moment?
Phyllis and Jack. Yeah, Mother's in London with cousin Julia. I gather she's going on some terrific spending spree. She's read somewhere in the newspapers that if war breaks out, there's going to be a shortage of silk stockings. So she's laying up a store for all you girls.
Oh, how sweet of her. Yes, I read that article too. Roll them up tightly and store in storage jars, and they will last for years. Well, I suppose Granny's right. Masses of things will be in short supply, so one ought to buy now.
Yes, one mustn't hoard, of course.
Oh, of course not, though people will. Daddy, how are things at the house?
Well, speaking for myself and my minister, there's an air of depression and anxiety hanging over us. This Austrian business is intensely worrying. Schuschnigg's a very brave man. But I fear he's no match for Hitler. Yeah, did you read... No, probably not. I don't suppose you've had much time to read the papers.
No, not really. But we're all very conscious of the cloud in the background. One of our more crazy housemen sent Hitler a telegram to Berchtesgaden.
What did he say?
Please be decent.
But that won't do much good. Vicky's in Munich, you know. Klaus got a week's leave and she insisted on going with him. It's a bit worrying.
Well, are you afraid they may run off and get married?
Well, Vicky might want to, but Klaus wouldn't.
Do you mean he doesn't love her?
No, because he loves her too much to risk an uncertain future. You know, I have enormous respect for Klaus.
Yes, I rather agree with you.
Oh, by the way, Vicky's finishing at the academy.
Yes, I know. Poor Vicky. Whatever she does will be wrong, unless a miracle happens.
Unless?
Which you don't think very likely.
Well, I suppose it's just possible that if Hitler gets Austria, he might be satisfied. I think he's going to do that any moment. The Chamberlainites are all very hopeful.
But you Churchillians aren't.
No. Oh, well, I'll just go to bed. I've got a busy week ahead of me, and I've got to see Paddy in the morning. It's maddening, you know, you having a few days off just when I've got to go away. Anyway, you can keep an eye on things for me. Which reminds me, forgetting Herr Hitler for a moment.
Yes, which isn't easy.
No. Look, there's some problem about Sam Woods and his cottage. Paddy's coping with it, but keep an eye out, will you? You see, Mrs. Woods is a relation of Frank Chapman's wife, and I don't want him upset. He's the best carman in the country, so don't let Paddy ride roughshod.
No, I won't. You know, I was thinking as I drove over, if I hadn't had this thing about medicine, I might have taken an agricultural degree and run the estate for you.
You'd have done that very well. You don't feel like changing horses now, I suppose.
Afraid not.
Oh, Lord. I've been foraging. I'm sorry. Hello, Liz.
My dear girl, didn't you have enough dinner?
Well, of course I did, but... You see...
I think we'd better go into the study and you can tell your brother what you're up to.
This hour?
Well, he's going away tomorrow, and by the time he gets back, you'll be gone, so... Well, come on, Phil. It's high time, you know.
I suppose it is. I'll show soon.
Well, what are you two girls talking about?
Come on, Phil.
Well?
You're going to be an uncle, Arthur. Rather late in life, I admit, but true all the same.
When?
August.
My dear girl, is this true, Liz?
Oh, don't ask me.
Oh, Liz has been marvellous. She's known from the very beginning and hasn't said a word to anyone. Jack and I didn't want a lot of fuss, but it is time now to break the news.
It's splendid news. I'm delighted. Is Jack pleased?
Yes. Isn't it odd? I thought he'd be furious, and he was at first. Not for long. Not when he thought about having a boy.
Oh, I see. It's going to be a boy, is it?
Oh, yes.
Yes, well, don't you be too certain. That's what Helen and I said each time. And we ended up with 3 daughters. Anyway, boy or girl, it's marvellous news. Congratulations. Now, mind you have it in the very best nursing home in London. I'll contribute.
Don't be silly, Arthur. That wouldn't be necessary.
I know it's not necessary, but I'd like to. Isn't the one nearby in Welbeck Street?
Yes, there is, number 27.
I want to have the baby here in my old home, where you and I were born, Arthur, darling. With Dr. Bentley, assisted by a rather clever, though decidedly bossy, young lady doctor I know.
Shut up, Phil. Daddy, you look tired. Up to bed with you.
You're quite right, you know. She is bossy. Anyway, congratulations, Phil. And to Jack, too. Try and stay down for the weekend, Oh, good night, Liz. Now, remember what I told you about Parry.
Yes, I will.
By the way, what are you going to call him?
One of his names will be Arthur, of course.
Really? Oh, how nice. Well, I must go. I'll be fit for nothing in the morning.
Morning, Gates. It's freezing out.
It is that, miss. I said to Mrs. Gates when I woke up today, I said it's more like February than March. Still, I've got a nice fire going for you.
Yes, thank you. Has Mrs. Poole gone out?
Yes, she and Mr. Poole are lunching in Birmingham.
Oh, thank goodness for a lovely fire.
Well, would you like a cup of coffee, miss?
Oh, that would be nice.
We were wondering in the kitchen whether we should call you doctor now, seeing as how you're fully fledged.
Oh, I don't think you need to in the house, so to speak. But to outside people, I suppose I am Dr. Bourne.
It seems like only yesterday that you were riding your first bicycle round the cedar tree. 14 years ago.
Well, don't rub it in, Gates. Temper's fugit.
Oh, yes, miss.
Demands. Having already postponed the plebiscite on the issue of Austrian independence, he has now agreed to hand over the chancellorship to Dr. Seyss Inquart, the pro-Nazi Minister of the Interior. Despite these concessions, it is reported that the Munich Corps of the German army has been mobilized. Meanwhile, France is still without a government, following the resignation of Monsieur Schulton yesterday, and there appear to be no reactions from Italy. In Moscow, the trial of Bukhari...
Good heavens, Gates. Are you turning into our butler now?
Mrs. Gates is upstairs, miss, giving Lady Bourne's room a clear-out with one of the daily women. Seemed a good opportunity with her ladyship away. Well, not much I can do outside on a day like this. Too much frost in the ground. I'd better get on with some soy. Coffee all right, miss?
Yes, delicious. Something on your mind, Gates?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, there is, Miss Liz. I don't rightly know whether I should be troubling you, but I know the commander's up to his eyebrows, and he did say when I drove him to the station yesterday, if there's any trouble, he says, you go to Miss Liz. She's in charge whilst I'm away.
Get to the point, Gates.
Yes, miss. It's, Mr. Parry, miss. He's got an eviction order against Sam Woods.
He's already got an order. Well, I knew there was talk of it, but I didn't know it had actually happened.
The trouble is that Daisy Woods is expecting her third quite soon, and Mrs. Chapman is out of her mind with worry.
Mrs. Chapman? Oh, she's her aunt, isn't she?
If you ask me, Mr. Parry's very annoyed with Sam Woods for leaving the estate, and he says as how he's brought it all on himself.
I
seeing as
think
how he was
I'd better
determined to-
discuss it with Mr. Parry, Gates.
Yes, miss. Oh, and maybe you could have a word with Sam Woods.
Yes, I've every intention of doing so.
Yes, miss.
Oh, hello, Mrs. Woods. Can I come in and have a word with you?
Well, Miss Liz, I
think it might be helpful.
Here, Daisy, don't keep Miss Bourne hanging around in the cold. Come in, miss. And you, young man, you get in that kitchen and stay there. Come on, off you go.
Oh, Katie, love, what are you doing? You shouldn't be in here. Now, come on out. Come on. Won't you sit down, please, miss?
Yes, thank you.
Can I get you a cup of tea?
No, thank you.
Well, sit down, girl.
All right. Come on, Katie, love. Sit down here for a minute. That's it.
Now, about this eviction. I do see your problem, but I've looked into this. And I know that a tied cottage goes with the job. And now that you've taken a job at the cider factory, Sam, I'm afraid my father has every right to ask for repossession.
Oh, 'tweren't the commander, 'twere that Mr. Parry.
Yes, perhaps. But what I'm trying to point out is that legally you're in the wrong. I don't say I think it's right to turn you out, but it is legal.
But what can we do? Where can we go?
It wasn't our fault there was a fire.
What do you mean, a fire?
Well, when I took a job at the cider factory, I asked about housing. They told me there was a cottage I could rent in Westcombe. A little terraced house it were, near the playing fields.
And inside WC and all.
Well, then why didn't you take it? Or was the rent much more?
Well, it's 5 shillings a week more, but then I'd be earning more.
Then I didn't understand. Why didn't you go there?
Well, 'cause of the fire last November. Well, there's these boys, see, they were messing about in the garden on Guy Fawkes night and they started this fire.
And the house was burnt down?
No, it was only damaged bad inside. And the foreman at the works told Sam as it will be ready for living in by next June.
Look, let's just get this straight. You've got a house waiting for you as from when?
Midsummer Quarter Day.
So you're only asking for a 3-month extension?
That's
That's
right.
it, and the rent book's up to date, and Sam's dug the garden ready for the spring sowing.
Oh, yes, but that weren't no good. Out, says Mr. Parry. Next thing I know, we get this bit of paper served on us.
Look, show Miss Liz a piece of paper, Sam. Down you go, Katie, for a minute. That's it. Go and sit in that chair. Up you go.
Oh, what are you doing now, boy? Come you out of that. God, I can't leave you over the phone.
When's the new baby due?
Early May.
Is there nowhere you can go? Your mother?
Mother died last spring, Miss Liz. I was going to take in 4 of us and a new baby.
Well, where will the court send you?
The children to an orphanage and mate to the workhouse. Sam says he'll take a room in Westcombe for a while.
It's hell for you, but it is only for 3 months.
No, it isn't. I know Sam. Look, if you'll excuse me talking to you like this, but seeing as your doctor, maybe you'll understand.
Yes, say what you like.
Well, it's Sam. He can't do without... Oh, well, what I mean is, after 3 months on his own, he'll find someone else. Someone younger and pretty like I was once. I'll just be left with the kids. Women like Sam. I wouldn't stand a chance.
Yes, I see.
There it is.
The 15th of March. So you've only got 3 days. My father's away. I'll get in touch with Mr. Parry at once.
I can't do with it. I can't, miss.
Simply had to ask your advice.
Ask away.
And it's about the Woods and their eviction order. I'm awfully worried. I'm sure that wretched man, Parry, has got hold of the wrong end of the stick. They're only asking for a 3-month extension.
You don't like him, do you?
Do you?
No, to be honest, I don't. He's far too self-important to be a good agent.
I can't think why Daddy took him on.
Well, he came with a very good recommendation from Colonel Braithwaite. But I agree with you, he's not the right man for Larkfield. Have you spoken to your father?
Yes, or rather he spoke to me. He told me all about it. I think he's afraid of Parry going ahead like a bull in a china shop and getting the Chapmans all upset. I know how Daddy values him.
Indeed, I do. But I think it's a bit hard on you, my poor child, to come back from hospital for a much-needed rest, to be plunged into a situation like this eviction. I think Arthur should have stayed and coped with it himself.
Well, he said he had a busy week in London.
I'm sure he has.
Oh, don't be unfair, Rosie. You must know what a difficult and worrying time he's having now.
Not so busy that he can't take an old friend out for dinner. Oh, I'm sorry, Liz. It's all getting me down. You don't know what it's like having no one to talk to. Last week...
Oh, Rosie, tell me. What happened last week?
I was going up to London to stay with my father and do some shopping. So I took a deep breath and rang your father at the weekend and said I wanted to ask his advice about a few things. Perhaps we could have dinner together? He hedged, Liz. He positively hedged. It's been like that ever since Alice's birthday party. He's changed. Someone else, isn't there? Oh, please don't deny it. Peter and Laura have seen them together.
Yes, I know. They told me too. Laura thinks she knows who she is.
Who?
A journalist, rather up and coming.
Oh, a journalist? Yes, he told me about it. Peter said she's young and rather beautiful. Oh, I suppose it was bound to happen sooner or later, but I didn't think I would mind quite as much as this.
It's damnable. We girls hoped that when he began to get over Mummy's death, and then when Geoffrey left home, well, he'd see what an absolutely perfect plan it would be for both of you, and for us. Oh, Rosie, you needn't despair. Perhaps we're exaggerating, getting the whole thing out of proportion.
No, I don't think so. When a man of Arthur's age starts with a younger woman, it has to burn itself out.
Which it probably will. In which case he'll come running back to you. If you'd have him.
Oh, I'd have him all right. I have no shame where your father is concerned. I fell in love with him the very first time I ever met him in 1923. I suppose I feel exactly the same about him now.
That was the year that you met in Hong Kong, wasn't it?
Yes. Your mother was here at Larkfield with you three little girls.
I've always wondered and have never dared. Did you and Daddy... No, I shouldn't ask.
No, you shouldn't. But the answer's no. Definitely no. Your father was the most loving and faithful of husbands. Your mother was a very lucky woman.
I'm glad.
I'm not. Girls didn't have affairs with married men in 1923. At least I didn't, or any of my friends, but I often wonder if we had, whether I would have got rid of my rather foolish yearnings.
Poor Rosie. Out of all those attractive naval officers, you had to fall for my father.
Oh, Liz, it's such a relief to talk to you. I've been wanting to let my hair down, but I just somehow couldn't in front of Laura and Peter. I mean, they're in a romantic haze all of their own, aren't they? Oh, bless you, darling. I must go now. I have some people coming for lunch.
Oh, but the woods!
Oh, my dear. I came here to give you some advice, and here I am talking about my idiotic self. Do forgive me. Now, listen. What you've told me, I think you have every right to ask Parry for a stay of execution. Tell her that you've got authorization from your father to do it, and I'll get my man to talk to him as well. But you haven't got much time, so telephone him now. Ask him to come over this evening. Bless you, Lizzie.
Says here that they're expecting more entries than ever before for the King's Cup.
Oh, that air race in July. Oh, dear.
You're not going to stop me entering, old girl.
I have no intention of trying to, old boy.
Hello, you two.
Hello.
Any tea left?
Yes, gallons. Here.
I told Nanny about the baby. She was sweet, pretended not to know, and then gave the whole thing away by showing me this. Look, she must have slaved over it.
Yes, she told me. That was Grandfather Billy's robe, 1850 or something.
Then Arthur was christened in it.
Oh, then you?
And then you three girls. And now my son and her. It's very resplendent. We'll have to get the bishop to officiate,
Let's
no
stop
less.
fussing about that infant and think about its mother for a bit. I should like your advice, Dr. Bourne.
I'm getting a bit tired of that joke. But fire away.
Well, Phil wants to have the baby here, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
And more to the point, what does Mr. Morgan think?
Grand gynecologist you sent Phil to, he says London, so that he could be on the spot.
Yes, I agree.
I want to have it here.
But you must have the best possible attention. After all, you're no chicken, my pet.
Jack!
Well, sorry, but it's true. Though you look marvellous.
Why don't you go to a good nursing home in London for the actual birth, and then come down here with a monthly nurse and rest for 2 or 3 weeks? That way you'll have the best of both worlds.
Good idea.
Only you must arrange it quickly, you know. These places get booked out.
I'll write at once.
What's the matter, darling? You wishing it were you?
Good Lord, no. I was just comparing you with someone else I know who's having a baby. Oh, it's an unfair world.
Suppose it is.
Oh, Liz.
Yes.
There was a message for you from that fellow Parry. He's coming round at 5 o'clock.
Oh, any moment now.
Where did Arthur find Mr. Parry?
He was highly recommended by Colonel Braithwaite.
Oh,
Parry's all right. It's what an estate like this needs. Someone who'll keep the farm workers in their place. Do you know they can earn over £2 a week now with overtime? Yes, some of them are pressing for more.
There's no overtime in winter. And how would you like to live on £2 a week?
Oh, my dear girl, I am not a farm labourer. They don't expect anything else.
Oh, don't they? That'll be Mr. Parry. I'll go.
do you want us to make ourselves scarce?
No need. I'll see him in the study. Oh, come in, Mr. Parry.
Thank you.
Perhaps you'd come through to my father's study.
Thank you. Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hello.
Well, it's eased off a bit at last.
Oh, just as well.
What is Liz up to now?
Heaven the foggiest. Bit of a socialist nowadays, isn't she? Pale pink, if not red. Poor old Arthur. I wonder what he makes of it.
I wonder.
Do sit down, Mr. Parry.
Thank you.
I do hope you don't think that I'm interfering in this business of the woods.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the Commander and I have had quite a long talk about this. He felt, and I heartily agree with him, that if Woods chose to leave the estate after 20 years...
20 years?
Well, yes, he first came to work here when he was 12. Well, if he left of his own choice, he could just take what was coming to him.
That's penalising a man for trying to better himself.
Not at all sure I agree about bettering himself, but that's not quite the point, is it? We are simply exerting our legal rights. Woods lives in a tied cottage, which goes with a job, no cottage. Simple as that. Besides, it's needed for the man I shall engage in his place.
Who is that?
I don't know, yet.
Oh, so there's no urgent need for it?
Yes, I want to have some repairs done. It's a bit run down.
Oh, then why not let the woods stay on until midsummer? It's all they're asking. And the fire I told you about was hardly their fault.
Yes, well, that story was never mentioned in court. Woods didn't bother to turn up or even write a letter.
Oh, that was sheer ignorance. He was right out of his depth. And I don't mind betting scared stiff.
Well, I haven't much sympathy for him, I'm afraid. After all, he need never have left.
You don't like Sam, do you, Mr. Parry?
No, I don't think I do. Oh, he's a good enough worker, but not quite in the same class as, say, the Whipleys or the Pigman, Jack Bolt. And since you've asked me, I've often seen him having a pint with that Tom Bryce. Now, that man is a troublemaker, do you know him?
No, I don't. But what I do know is that Mrs. Woods is a relation of Mrs. Chapman. And if they're evicted unreasonably, I think Frank Chapman will be very upset.
Well, the estate is hardly being run for the benefit of Frank Chapman. In any case, when the Woods do go, it won't be unreasonable.
My father would think so. But did you know that Mrs. Wood is having a baby in May?
No, I didn't.
I don't think you know a great deal about the men's families, do you? And it does matter, you know.
Perhaps you would be good enough to tell me exactly what you suggest I should do in this matter.
Yes. I want you to go to the court and withdraw the eviction order, and then to give the Woods a 3-month extension.
Oh, for God's sake, you don't want much, do you?
Please don't speak to me like that. My father asked me to keep an eye on things while he was away. Did he tell you?
No, he didn't. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, Miss Bourne.
Doctor.
Dr. Bourne. But without your father's consent, I have no intention of taking your instructions in this matter.
I'm not used to being disbelieved, and I don't think my father will be very pleased to hear that I was.
I'm sorry you feel like that.
Do you mean that unless you have my father's personal sanction, you will continue with this eviction?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Right. I'll telephone him now and ask him to phone you this evening. Will you be in?
I shall make a point of it. I'm not a gambling man, Miss Bourne, Dr. Bourne, but I don't mind betting the commander will agree with me over this.
I wonder. Good afternoon, Mr. Parry.
Good afternoon.
Hello, can you get me a London number, please? Victoria 2254.
Thought you might like this.
Bless you, but what is it?
It's one of Jack's concoctions. Barry went out looking rather red and angry.
Yes, well, I feel rather red and angry myself. We had a bit of a dust-up.
Well, who won?
No one yet, but I think I will.
Good for you.
Hello? Oh, I see. Well, will you keep trying, please? Thank you. Oh, blast.
More anger?
Trunk lines are engaged. There's at least an hour's delay. I simply must get hold of Father.
Arthur Bourne.
Daddy.
Oh, hello, my dear. How are you?
I've been trying to get hold of you for ages. Daddy, something rather awful has happened.
Yes, I know. The rape of Austria.
You mean that the Germans have invaded?
I do indeed. Hitler gave no warning, just mobilized his Munich Corps and crossed the frontier.
No opposition?
None, I gather. The sky's black with planes. His tanks will be halfway to Vienna by now.
Well, what's the government doing about it?
They're just sitting back and saying tut-tut and accepting it. Accepting naked, unprovoked aggression. This isn't even an Anschluss. It's the total absorption of Austria into the Third Reich.
But surely even Mr. Chamberlain must react in some way.
Do you know who was lunching with Chamberlain today?
How could I?
Well, you'll read about it in the Times tomorrow. Ribbentrop, the German ambassador.
Well, perhaps they didn't know.
Oh, perhaps.
Well, perhaps Hitler really will be satisfied now. Didn't he say something about no further demands?
Well, just a minute, Liz. Doorbell. Oh, nice to see you. Do excuse me, I'm on the phone to Larkfield. I shan't be a minute. Yes, Liz.
Now, Daddy, listen. Something rather awful has happened here, too, about that eviction order.
Eviction? Oh, yes. The Woods cottage. Help yourself to a drink.
Yes,
will you?
Arthur.
Yes, Liz.
I don't think you're listening to me at all, are you? Well, never mind. I think I've got it all in hand. But what I want you to do is to ring that new agent of yours and tell him that he must listen to me. Well, you can trust me, can't you?
Well, I hope so. Has he been riding roughshod again? He is apt to.
Arthur.
Yes. Liz, look, I promised to phone him just before I go out to dinner. But I must go now. I've got people here. Everything all right at Larkfield otherwise?
Well, yes.
Good. Bye. I'm so sorry, my dear.
I'm sorry I kept interrupting, but an old lady came out of the flat opposite in great distress as I arrived. She sounds foreign.
Oh, that's Mrs. Weiss, my neighbour. Good God, yes, she's Austrian. Yes, she would be distressed.
Can I bring her in?
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Weiss. Oh, please come in.
Oh.
You know the commander?
Yes, of course. Commander Bourne, I am so sorry. But this terrible news...
Yes, I know. Do sit yourself down. I think a little brandy wouldn't come amiss.
You're very kind. The news on the wireless. I was so shocked. I tried to telephone my son in Vienna, but there was no reply.
Perhaps he was out.
No,
He has a wife and 2 young children, and the apartment is never empty. Oh, thank you so much. I am so much afraid of what has happened. You see, my son is half Jewish. He is a scientist. He was afraid of what was coming, and so he applied for his visa to go to America. They were going next month, and I was going to join them. Now I dare not think what has happened.
Arthur, I think some good strong coffee is indicated.
Yes, of course.
You have your coat on. Were you going out?
Oh, yes. I was going to see my friend. She lives in Ashley Gardens. I needed to talk to someone. And then suddenly in the corridor, I felt faint. Look, I have come out with odd gloves.
Would it be a good idea if I telephone your friend and ask her to come and stay the night? Would that be all right?
That would be nice if she could.
What's her telephone number?
Oh, I can't remember. She has a furnished flat. Oh, if you could go into my own flat. I have a little book with numbers by the telephone.
What's her name?
Her name? Oh, Miss Anderson.
Look, I'll go and telephone her now, and while I'm there, I'll warm up the flat and put a hot water bottle in your bed. Here's your coffee.
Thank you so much. Oh, how kind your wife is. I am so grateful.
My what? Well, actually, is that all right?
Delicious.
Good.
True Viennese coffee.
Yes, I pride myself on my coffee. I've been thinking about your son, Mrs. Weiss.
Yes?
Isn't it possible that he already got his visa and decided to get his family out and has already left?
It is possible. No, he would have telephoned me.
Well, not necessarily. He may have been waiting until he got to Switzerland. Yes, I can help you there.
How's that?
Well, I can telephone the naval attaché at our embassy in Vienna and ask him to go round to the flat and find out what he can. Fortunately, I know him quite well.
Oh, if you could, that would be wonderful. Poor Herr Schussnick. His farewell broadcast. It was tragic when he said he was yielding to brutal force. Did you hear it?
Yes, I did indeed. I'll book the call now. I expect the lines will be busy tonight. Continental trunks, please. Yes, I'll hold on. Where does your son live, Mrs. Weiss?
In Dublin. Oh, I have his address here and his telephone number. Do you know Vienna, Commander?
Oh, indeed I do. It's a beautiful city. At least it won't be bombed now. That's one consolation.
Is it? It might be better to be bombed than to be occupied. Think of those brown shirts strutting down the Ringstrasse, pushing my own people into the street. There will be a curfew and many restrictions. I was there in 1918, Commander. And now it is all happening again. Twice in a lifetime. It's too much. And my son and his wife, where are they now? And the little ones. Oh my God.
Yes, I know all about that, and I see your point in this particular instance.
The law is unfair.
Liz, this is no time for social theorizing. Look, when I get back home, you and I must have a long talk.
You're not cross, are you?
No, I'm not cross. How's Phyllis?
Oh, she's fine.
Good. Well, give her my love and tell her to take care, will you? Look, I must go now. Something's come up. Bye.
Mrs. Weiss's friend's arrived. She's going to stay the night.
Oh, good.
Was that Vienna on the line?
No, there's hours of delay. No, it's my tiresome eldest daughter.
Tiresome? I thought she was such a bright girl.
Oh, she's bright enough, but a bit of a worry. Look, why don't we talk about it over dinner?
Why wait till dinner? Why not now?
Why not? The trouble with Liz is she's a bit of a socialist.
Was that so very dreadful? Yes, of course it is. What a silly question.
I know a lot of people are nowadays. But when it's your own daughter, it's a bit hard to accept.
Well, is there any particular issue?
At the moment, yes. You see, I've always been my own agent, and since I've been so busy up here, I thought I needed someone to run the Larkfield estate, so I engaged a chap called Parry. Now, not at all sure he's the right fellow.
Well, why not?
See, I've always tried to do the best for the people who work for me. I suppose Liz would call me paternalistic and despise me for it. Anyhow, Barry thinks that the estate is more important than the people who work on it. And now he and Liz have had their mother and father a row.
What about?
An eviction order. Something I've never had to deal with before, and I don't like it. Parry convinced me. Now it appears that I was wrong. I've had to telephone him and tell him so.
Was that wise?
Under the circumstances, I think it was. You wouldn't want me to behave like a pocket Hitler, would you?
No, I wouldn't. And nor would you want to.
Would you like the other half?
No, thanks.
Talking of Hitler, what do you think the chances are for Mrs. Weiss's son?
Well, that's hard to tell. If the flat was empty, it means one of two things. Either he had the good sense to get out earlier this week, in which case one would have expected him to have telephoned his mother.
Well, if one was fleeing with a wife and 2 young children, one might forget that.
One certainly might. The other alternative is less pleasant.
Being put into one of those awful camps.
Yes, I fear so.
Oh, how dreadful. It's all getting so terribly close.
Oh, Harry, put that back in there. Just put it in there, love. No, don't play. Go on, off into the kitchen, will you? Will you put him in the kitchen, please, and shut the door?
What have you been up to now, boy?
And come back in here and give me an hand. Oh, Lord.
What do you want doing then, Daisy?
Can you lift the old king and queen down for me? Careful now.
What do you want doing with this?
Just put on there. That's it. Now, take them curtains down. Rod, what are you doing on this time of day?
Well, I took the afternoon off. I told the foreman we were moving, I've got to help you pack.
Moving?
What's Turner? Where's all this stuff going, anyhow?
Well, Fred Gates came round and says to pack everything up and he'll see what he can do for us. He's telephoning the commander. That's good of him, isn't it?
This commander has turned us out.
Well, that's not right. 'Twas you wanted to better yourself and you know it.
Well, I meant well, you know I did. Well, my fault there was a fire at the new place. Oh. Blast, that's a mess, isn't it?
Look, fetch me that picture down, eh? Don't worry too much. Maybe Miss Elizabeth will be able to help us.
Well, I can't see that Parry listening to her. Doctor and no doctor, she's only a young girl.
Well, then maybe the commander will do something.
Not him, you'll leave it to Parry. You don't give a dog and bark yourself. It was a bad day for us when the commander went to Parliament. Saying in the Ballymoo last night, it's the first eviction here since 1921. That's nigh on 17 years ago. It's been a good place up to now.
My dad was saying as the old Admiral, he was a good landlord too. He looked after his people well.
Yeah. Shouldn't be left to landlords. Folks should have their own rights.
Huh, who says?
Why, that new bloke has come last Michaelmas. You know him, Tom Bryce.
Course I do, and I don't like him. 'Twas him that's put you up to moving and got us into all this bother.
Well, you like the idea well enough. You said you was looking forward to moving to a new place with running water and nearer the shops.
I was. But now as it turns out, I shall have to go to the workhouse where the kids was. You get up to Lord knows what in that room in Westcombe.
Well, I'll come and see you and the kids on Sundays.
A fat lot of good that'll be to you, Sam Woods. We won't have a bed to go to. Oh, Sam, I'm not scared. 3 months is such a long time.
That'll be all right, gal.
Oh, I wonder. There's a car coming in the yard. Oh, it is Mr. Gates.
Gates, what's he want?
Well, maybe he's got some news for us.
Yeah, Tom Bryce says Gates is nothing but a lackey.
What's that supposed to mean?
Someone has toadies up to his employer for the sake of his job.
Well, that's not true. Mr. Gates, he and the commander were together in the war.
Yeah, there's a lot of difference between the upper deck and the lower. You ask anyone.
You're turning into a red, Sam. 'Tis all that Tom Bryce.
Well, maybe that is and maybe that ain't, but that is time things were changed.
Well, go and let him in. Oh, Lord.
Mr. Gates.
Afternoon, Mrs. Woods.
Hello, Mr. Gates. Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Woods. I've not long to spare.
Oh, right. Well, have a seat. I'm afraid 'tis all upside down.
Well, you got any news for us?
Yes, I have.
Oh, that order. Has it been changed, like?
Oh, I'm afraid that's none of my business. But Mrs. Chapman was very worried about your bits and pieces. So I telephoned the commander, and he told me to find some storage space for you at the home farm in one of the disused stables.
Oh, that's good of a minute, Sam.
I've been to see Frank Chapman, and he's bringing the van round first thing tomorrow morning.
I ain't going. I ain't turning out of here.
Oh, Sam.
Don't be a fool, Sam Woods. If the bailiff comes along tomorrow morning and you haven't moved your things out, they'll just be thrown out.
Tan right.
I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but it's the law. So just you shut your jaw and be thankful that your betters are trying to help you.
Laggy.
Oh,
What was that you said?
There's young Harry crying. Go and get him for me, please, and shut the door. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gates. He's that worried, he don't know what he's saying. Is there any hope of Miss Elizabeth doing anything for us with the court, like?
I can't answer for that. All I say is be ready to move your things out first thing tomorrow morning. I reckon your Sam's been keeping bad company of late.
Well, he's certainly changed a bit.
Yeah, a pity. He's not the only one. It's a sign of the times.
5 kings again.
Cheating again.
Oh, I want to blame by myself. Liz, come on, put that book down. Give me a game.
All right.
I'll throw first. Tens. You're coming to the meet tomorrow?
Are you going out?
Yes, I am. If the frost breaks.
Where are you meeting?
5 tens.
Jack.
5 ways. Oh, Geoffrey said he might come along too.
Ah, and Miss Finch?
Oh. Who didn't say? I rather gather everything's not going too well in that direction.
Perhaps she's found other fish to fry.
Very possibly. I always thought Geoffrey was an utter fool to swap Rosie for that hunting field harlot.
Well, if she has found a new boyfriend, I can tell you one thing. Geoffrey will go running straight back to Rosie.
If she'll have him. I was watching her and Arthur at Mother's birthday party, and I thought there might be something cooking.
No, I must admit I'd like it. It's time my dear papa married again. Added to which, she would stop him making mistakes.
What sort of mistakes?
Well, like engaging Mr. Parry. Rosie doesn't like him either.
Now, are you coming to the meet tomorrow, Liz? It'll do you good.
Sorry, I can't. I've got an appointment.
A lover's tryst?
Hardly.
Right.
Samuel Woods, I'm an officer of the court. Open this door. Come on, open up. I know you're there. And you know what I'm here for. But come along, Woods. You've had plenty of warning. Now you've got to get out. And it's no good hiding up there. You want to see your wife and kids thrown out, is that it?
You want me out of here? You'll have to break that door down.
And that's just what we will do if you don't come down and let us in.
Well, I just hope we're doing the right thing, Dr. Bourne.
Oh, I'm sure we are. What did my father say when he rang you?
To respect your decision.
I see.
Of course, if the bailiffs have already evicted them, that rather changes things, doesn't it?
What?
Well, I certainly don't think we should let them go back.
But you said you'd been to court and got a stay of execution.
Yes, I did. But you see, the bailiffs were already out.
Right, you go and check round the back while I keep him here.
Right.
Now then, Woods, for the last time, are you going to open this door?
No, I ain't.
Oh, come on, Mr. Parry, hurry up. If they've already been evicted, I'll...
You'll what, Dr. Bourne?
Never mind, just hurry up.
All right.
Nothing.
Right. Woods, you've had your last chance. Now we'll do it the hard way. Go on.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute!
Oh, blast, what's this now? Mr. Parry.
Ah, good day, Mr. Clifton. I was in court this morning. The clerk told me you'd left.
Yes, busy day. I started early. What did you want me for?
Well, it's a bit awkward. If I could have a word with you in private.
Well, let's get this job done first. It's your cottage, isn't it? You want it empty.
I'm Dr. Bourne. In point of fact, my father owns this cottage.
Well, of course he does, Miss Doctor. But Mr. Parry acts for him, and if you'll excuse me, the commander does want repossession of this place. I'm here this
I know
morning.
why you're here. We have decided that we're prepared to give Sam Woods another 3 months' tenancy, by which time we hope he will have found somewhere else to live.
Is this true, Mr. Parry?
Are you doubting my word?
What does the court know about this? I mean, I can't act without the authority of the court. Deferred till June the 15th. I see. Well, I suppose the commander knows what he's doing. Well, I'll be off then. No time to spare. I've waited enough already. Come on. Good day, Dr. Bourne.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Nothing to thank me for.
Morning, Woods. Did you hear all that?
Enough.
Right. I'm believing you then. Plenty of other things to be doing on this estate.
Yes, I'm sure there are, Mr. Parry. And thank you very much.
Tis hard to know how to thank you, Miss Liz.
Yeah, tis no.
Won't you come in and have a cup of tea?
Thank you, Mrs. Woods. I'd like to.
Good. Come on, then.
Come on, boy.
Yes, Mother, the journalist. She writes for Modern Life. She wants to do a piece on Hereford Cathedral, so I've asked her down for the weekend and we can drive her over on Sunday. Oh, about 7 o'clock-ish. Yeah. Angela Scott. Yes, you probably have, Mother. Sometimes their articles are used in several magazines at once.
It's called syndication. They do it in America, you know.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yes. They've got a lady who does syndicated etiquette called Emily something.
Yeah, Post, Mother.
Oh, how nice. It's such a big country, you see. She has to make sure that they're all doing and saying things in the same way in New York as they are in San Francisco.
Yes, it's probably something to do with the time difference, Mother.
Something like that, dear.
Mother, you're priceless.
What, dear?
Priceless.
Oh, your father said that once. I think we'd been in Harrods. Now, do you really think it's a good idea to ask this writer person to stay? Couldn't she just come for lunch on Sunday? I mean, what will Rosie think?
I don't really see what it's got to do with Rosie, Mother. And I've asked her down and I'm driving her, so would you please ask Mrs. Gates to get the room ready? Or Mrs. West or somebody. Well, I must go, Mother. I'll never get to Larkfield.
What, dear?
Yeah. Oh, never mind, Mother. I'll see you about 7 o'clock, all right?
Of course it's all right, dear. I'll tell Mrs. Gates when she brings my tea.
What?
My tea. Mrs. Gates.
Yes, all right, Mother. Goodbye.
Goodbye, darling.
Oh, hello, Angela. Let me take your case.
Thank you. Your telephone, Arthur.
Yes, it's probably some dreadful message telling me I've forgotten to sign something.
Well, aren't you going to answer it? I find the damn thing compelling.
Yeah, very well. But if I do have to go back to the Admiralty, I'll know who to blame. There, it's taken care of itself. Now, let me take your coat. Oh. Oh, do please, sit down. You know, that reminds me of a fellow I knew in the Navy once. When he had memos he didn't know how to answer, he used to leave them by an open porthole and hope the wind would oblige.
What's all this?
Well, I thought maybe you hadn't had luncheon, so some sandwiches. I made them myself.
How thoughtful.
Those are cucumber.
Delicious.
And there's a cake, too. I bought that.
No. I had visions of you slaving over a hot stove.
I've made some coffee. Or would you prefer a drink?
No, coffee, please. Shall I get it?
No. You carry on with the sandwiches.
There's quite a bit of traffic.
Oh, but there's plenty of time. The car's outside and it's packed.
How long have you been in London this time, Arthur?
Only since Tuesday, sort of tidying up for Easter.
Yes, me too. My editors asked me to continue with the English Heritage series.
Oh, hence Hereford.
Hence Hereford. There's a change from the social chit-chat.
You know, the girl's looking forward to meeting you. And Mother. This was her flat, you know, but she hasn't got much use for it now, and it's so handy for me. And the girls, too, if they're in London. And, of course, Mother, if she ever comes up.
How often does the poor old lady get up to London now?
What on earth do you mean?
Oh, nothing, except that families are families.
Oh.
Now, your poor mother has been banished to Herefordshire.
Banished? Nonsense.
Your eldest daughter's become a doctor and you hate it.
Nonsense.
Your youngest daughter's failed to become a concert pianist and you're delighted. And don't say nonsense again, because you are.
Well?
The only person who's done anything right is not your daughter at all.
Oh, Laura.
Like getting engaged to the rich young man next door. Old Geoffrey Cartland's son.
Oh, do you know him?
Geoffrey? Yes, I've met him. He's quite the tycoon. I'm looking forward to meeting his ex-wife. Is the decree absolute yet?
I think so. Angela, why this inquisition?
Oh, Arthur, I'm sorry. I just like to know who I'm going to meet. Oh, one more thing. Your servants. You said you had a couple to look after you.
Yes, the Gates. They're a splendid pair. Oh, by Jove. That reminds me, my laundry. Mrs. Gates is always ticking me off about it. I'll go and get it. She'll be astonished when she finds out that I remembered.
Just inside. I'm ready for a cup.
You're always ready for a cup. Don't do that, Fred.
What a bloomin' business. Ellesmore Estate's up for sale and they reckon it's going to be covered with factories.
Ellesmore?
Ellesmore. It's in the Gazette. Since the old man died, what with death duties and that, they put it up for sale, and now there's going to be a consortium.
What's that?
Well, it's a group of business people going to put up a factory there. Canning factory. Tin fruit, cider bottling, something like that.
Oh, it's a crying shame. One of the loveliest places of our county in a factory. Oh, no.
Looks like it.
Oh, that lovely place. Bluebell Wood, the lake, Riley's Copse. Oh, no. It'll never be allowed.
Come in, Mr. Parson.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh, yes, that'd be very nice.
How's the leg?
Oh, coming along fine, thank you, Mr. Gates. It was only a simple fracture. I'm just catching the bus into Hereford to take delivery of the new runabout for Mrs. Cartland.
Oh, why you? Why not the chauffeur?
We have to take Mrs. Cartland to a Red Cross meeting. Dalton asked me to drop these in. There are 100 gladioli bulbs and 1.5 dozen antirrhinums. Oh, and he said he'll be able to give you some alpine plants tomorrow.
Oh, thanks.
Now, let me see. It's 2 bob for the gladioli and 1 3 for the antirrhinums. The alpines are free. A dozen of them.
Well, there's 3 and 6pence.
Oh, there's the cheque for the new car. Mr. Cartland's cheque, £220.
Oh. May I have a look?
You may. And here's your change, Mr. Gates. 3
Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Tea, my lady.
Thank you, Mrs. Gates.
And I've brought you some fresh sponge cake. And the sandwiches.
You spoil me. I shan't be able to eat my dinner. Oh, yes. The commander rang up and said he's bringing a guest for the weekend. Now, would you ask Nanny to get her room ready for her?
Oh, it's a lady then, is it?
Yes, a lady journalist, a Miss Scott.
Oh, well, I'll get Nanny to see to it straight after tea, my lady. Oh, have you read in the paper about the Ellesmore Estates?
I was just reading it when you came in.
Well, Gates has just come in full of it. You know, I think it's terrible. It's such a beautiful place with the lake and everything.
I know. I used to play there as a child, and we used to row with the Ellesmore boys. Now, what on earth were their names?
Well, that would be Miss Davina's father, Mr. Hewitt Ellesmore, and her uncle, Mr. Donald Ellesmore.
Oh, Mrs. Gates, you've got a remarkable memory.
Well, I worked there when I first went into service, my lady. It was just near the end of the war. I remember Mr. Donald had been killed the year before. I was at Ellesmore for nearly 3 years, you know. And now it's going to be a factory.
But they can't put a factory on a lake, can they?
Oh, but there must be 300 or more acres apart from the lake, my lady.
Well, it says in the newspaper that it's for tinning fruit and cider bottling. Well, that would be good for our fruit farmers, wouldn't it? If they didn't have to send their produce so far to get it tinned.
Well, surely they could find somewhere else for that. Just you wait till the commander hears about it. He used to like to go fishing down there. Oh, if you'll excuse me, I must get on, my lady.
Oh, good timing, Granny. I'm ready for it. Cake. Yum. hasn't been a telephone call for me, has there?
No. Your father rang earlier, but that was all.
Oh, I was expecting Klaus to ring. I don't think he can come down this weekend, Granny.
Oh, has he got to work? Or to fly? Or to run from Land's End to John O'Groats?
Oh, it's not as bad as that, Granny. He's just keeping fit for me. Well, this time is different. A social duty. The von Rippentroffs are coming over and they're giving a reception for them at the German embassy. And Klaus has been summoned to attend in his best bib and tucker.
He's the foreign minister now, isn't he?
Rib? Yes. I don't know who the new ambassador is, but Rib is giving a goodbye party, I gather. What did Daddy say? He'd be late?
No, on the contrary. He said he'd be here about 7 with a guest. A lady journalist, Miss Angela Scott.
Angela Scott? Oh, isn't she the one who did the article about Daddy? Yes. And he took her to lunch and dinner at Quag's. Oh, the plot thickens.
I still don't see why Elsmore, Mr. Parsons. Surely there are plenty of other places without pulling that to pieces.
Well, it's near to good roads, and there's enough land there for a housing estate.
A housing estate?
Yes, like Port Sunlight. The one that Lord Leverhulme built. They have an art gallery and a swimming pool, and in fact every possible amenity.
It says here that Mr. Edges is behind the scheme.
Mr. Adrian Edges, that article. He doesn't care about people. You can't tell me that Mr. Edges is in anything except for Mr. Edges. I mean, just you look at the way he's bought his way into everything since he's won that money on pools.
Well, that's true, but he'd only be one. It's a consortium, you see.
Well, it's early days, I suppose. Oh, here, I must be getting along. Mrs. Cartland said that the commander and the young ladies were coming down for lunch on to Leyford on Saturday. I'll get those alpine plants from Dalton, and I'll ask the commander if he'd be kind enough to bring them back here.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Parsons.
Good.
Now, mind you drive carefully in that new car.
Oh, I will. Well, bye for the new, as Nanny would say. Goodbye, Mrs. Gate.
Oh, bye, Mr. Parsons.
What's the matter, Ray?
We've got to get the commander to stop this factory business, Fred. Elsmore Estate is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and they just can't spoil it. Just think of all the times we've walked there of an evening. Do you remember when I took you to see it after I left?
Yes, but those are just memories. We still got them. They just stay as memories. We don't go there now. We haven't been there for 12 years or more.
I have. I've been there every year since we've been at Larkfield, and just walked by the lake.
You never told me.
No, I didn't. I just wanted to go a walk by myself. Don't you remember being there with me, Fred? Hey, don't you remember when I told you about working there? And, you asked me a question?
Oh, I can't actually say I remember that. I remember going there with you, of course, but, what was the question?
You asked me if I like butter.
Oh, with a buttercup under your chin.
Fred Gates. I'm going to throw something at you in a minute. Well, I'd better get on. I've wasted enough time here. Love, wash these cups up for me, will you? I've got to go and help Nanny make up a bed. A bed, Fred? I'm going to make up a bed. Oh, Lord help me.
Hello, Vic. Oh, Vic. Hello. I'll get some fresh tea. This is an hour old. Oh, how lovely. Granny.
Hello, darling.
Hello. Oh, I'm exhausted. We've had a hectic week at the hospital. I'm famished. I had no real lunch today. Cake, how lovely.
Have a sandwich to start with. They're simply delicious.
Thank you.
Oh, Elizabeth, I do wish you could get a really good lunch. You know, when you're working so very hard, it's essential you should have proper meals.
Yes, Granny, I promise I will.
Oh, we've made up the bed, my lady, and I've put a bottle in just in case.
Very wise, Mrs. Gate. Very wise.
Miss Liz, can I get you some fresh tea?
That's all right, Mrs. Gate. Vicky's gone to get it.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I think I shall go up and have a little rest before I change. Thank you, darling.
Who have they been making up a bed for? Angela Scott, you know, that journalist. The one who did the article about Daddy. I thought it was jolly good.
put pay to all that pro-German nonsense.
I'd have said he'd done that himself with his speech at Greenwich.
I know. But mud sticks. It's all such rot. Just because I'm going to marry Klaus, anyone would think Daddy were going to change his name to Von Bourne and start wearing short leather trousers and a feather in his hat.
Will you marry Klaus?
Well, one day I will. One day, if everything turns out right.
But if it doesn't, with Hitler and war...
Well, Klaus and I are trying not to think too far ahead. We believe it's all a storm in a teacup.
You mean you hope Klaus does believe it? Is he coming this weekend?
No, I don't think so. A diplomatic party for Ribbentrop.
Ah, the ambassador, no less.
The foreign minister for the Third Reich now.
Oh, my God! You're halfway there already, Fräulein.
Oh, it is good to see you, even if it's just for the weekend. Do you know Miss Scott?
No. Peter and Laura, I saw her with Daddy. They say she's awful.
Awful?
Well, no, they didn't say that. They said that she was making cow eyes at Daddy all the time and that he was fawning all over her.
How lovely. Oh, I think Daddy should have people. I mean, women making cow eyes at him. But fawning, I really can't see Daddy fawning, can you?
Well, he can be a bit silly at times. And I don't think it'll go down too well with Rosie.
Oh, we're going over there on Saturday. We fixed it last week.
And taking her?
I suppose.
Oh, God, that's not fair on Rosie, flaunting another woman at her.
You sound just like Mrs. Gaskell, flaunting another woman. Perhaps that's just what Rosie needs, to get off her behind and do something about Daddy.
Oh, Vicky.
Well, how long has it been dragging on now? Daddy needs someone to share his life. It's high time she made up his mind for him.
I thought it was usually the man who did the asking.
Oh, the man says the words, but the woman mesmerizes him into what he has to say.
Oh, really? Is that what you did with Klaus?
More or less. Only he said it in very bad English, and I had to put his grammar right.
Yes, well, let's hope Rosie gets her grammar right, then.
Would be tidy, wouldn't it? Laura married to Peter, Daddy married to Rosie. Well, you could marry Adrian Hedges.
Oh!
Well, you'd get rid of Mrs. Hedges first, then be accused of her murder later, and you'd get all his lovely money.
Mad, mad, mad. She's mad as mad can be. Sad, sad, sad for all the world to see.
Oh, incidentally, Mr. Hedges is going to buy the Elsmore estate.
What on earth for?
A factory.
Well, Daddy won't allow that.
Commander's car, just coming up the drive. I'll go and get the bags in.
Oh, come along in, Angela.
Thank you. Oh, good evening, sir.
Oh, this is Mrs. Gates.
Hello, Mrs. Gates. Good evening, madam.
Mrs. Gates is Gates' wife.
Yes, I guessed.
Of course.
May I take your coat, madam?
Will you be needing the car again this evening, sir?
No, I don't think so, Gates, but leave the garage doors unlocked in case I do, will you?
Right, sir. Shall I take the bags up?
Yes, please. Come along, Angela.
Oh, what a charming room. A hall, I should say.
Yes, we like it very much. It's the hub of our family life, I think. Oh, Mrs. Gates.
Yes.
Haven't you forgotten to ask me something?
What's that, sir?
Why, your usual question after I've been away for a few days.
Oh, your laundry. The commander never remembers.
You're wrong this time, Mrs. Gates. I have it.
Oh.
Thanks entirely to Miss Scott.
Oh, thank you very much, Miss Scott.
My pleasure, Mrs. Gates.
I'll just take Miss Scott's coat upstairs, sir.
Yes, well, do please. Sit down, Angela. Now, what can I get you to drink? Whiskey and soda, sherry?
Vermouth, please.
Without gin. Hello, stranger. Ah. Vicky. Angela, allow me to introduce my daughters. This is Vicky. She's just left the Royal Academy of Music.
Hello. How do you do?
And this is Elizabeth, who's just returned from a hospital in Birmingham, I imagine.
How do you do? Yes. You know, I tried to telephone you about 2:30 this afternoon and to ask you to pick up some books for me, but no reply.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. The phone did ring, and when I got to it, it stopped. Must have been you. I'm so sorry, my dear.
Don't worry, Daddy, they weren't urgent.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward to meeting both of you. I hear you've just qualified.
Yes, and I'm very new, so don't anybody go sick.
She's been sorting out the commander's laundry.
All right.
That Miss Scott. She said it gave her great pleasure.
Hang on a minute, Eileen. What are you talking about?
Well, he said he'd remembered it, thanks to her. And she said it were a pleasure.
Well?
Well, I don't like to think of strange women going through his things.
What's it got to do with you? She probably only reminded him anyway.
Well, I don't like her. I think she's a flighty bit.
How do you know?
She looks it. She can't hold a pin to Mrs. Cartland.
Who said anything about Mrs. Cartland?
Fred, will you stop it? Well, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Everybody expects the Commander and Mrs. Cartland will get married one of these days. Well, I know Lady Bourne does. And the girls do. Miss Laura does.
What have you been doing, a survey or something? Commander's a free man. Anyway, she's the one who did the article about him, isn't she?
Well, that doesn't mean to say he has to bring her here, does it?
Well, it is his house, and she's a very attractive woman.
Hey, you're all alike, aren't you? A pretty face, and you just don't know which way you're going.
Well, you've got a pretty face, and I think I know which way I'm going.
And you still can't remember what question it was you asked me that day at Elsmore, can you, Fred?
Was it about that new sliding greenhouse they put in?
Oh, hey.
I know, it was what we should do with that £50 that my aunt gave me.
Fred, can't you really remember?
Oh, I can't rightly say that I do.
You daft beggar. Down by the lake? Under the trees? It were raining. You put your mat round my shoulders.
Oh, I remember. I said we should buy a nice new umbrella for walking out in the rain.
Oh, no, you didn't. You asked me to marry you.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, well, I knew it couldn't have been important to have slipped my mind like that.
I'll slip your mind in a minute, Fred Gates. Just you wait while I get hold of you. I'm warning you. Just you wait.
Mother.
Where's everybody?
Changing. I think it's time I went up, too.
Before you go, have you got a minute?
Yes, of course, Mother.
It's about a report in the local paper.
Oh, yes. Would you like a glass of sherry?
No, thank you, dear. Aren't you drinking rather more than usual?
I don't think so, Mother.
Well, just that I heard you were going about rather a lot, and I thought perhaps you were keeping up with Miss Scott.
Mother, I'm changing my vest every day, and I'm washing behind my ears and generally behaving as a good boy. Now, look, why don't we go into the study? It's cosier in there.
And we shan't be overheard. I know what you mean.
Oh, do sit down.
Thank you, dear.
Mother, do please join me in a glass of sherry.
Very well, Arthur.
Now, Mother, why this disapproval of Miss Scott? She's a charming person, excellent company, and she did us all a very good service in that article she wrote, in which she made it perfectly clear that although I respect and admire Klaus's parents, I in no way embrace any part of Nazi German philosophy. In fact, she wrote that I said it stinks.
You'd already made it quite clear from your speech that you made at Greenwich. Still, I do feel grateful to her for that. But what does Rosie feel about all this?
Well, why should Rosie feel anything about it, Mother? She doesn't own me.
No, but...
Yes,
well,
I know, Mother, I know. I'm not half as thoughtless as you think I am, Mother. I'm deeply grateful to Rosie for everything she's done for us all since Helen died. And I love her very much. But being in love to the point of marriage, well, that's a different thing altogether. Perhaps I'm just buying a little time.
Well, if that's what you want, be careful Rosie doesn't pay too high a price for the little time you buy.
Yes, Mother, yes, I will.
Well, now, you ought to see this.
No? So... Elsmore? Oh, my God. I thought the National Trust were taking it over. I suppose they can't afford it without a big endowment.
The Osmores wanted to keep it, I know.
Yes, I know, Mother. It's death duties. It's a considerable sum. Now they'll have to sell it. But a factory site. Ah, I see Hedges is in on it.
The prime mover, apparently.
Yes, with Burford Products. They're the people who bottle the local cider.
I suppose our local farmers would be quite pleased if
Yes,
they
but
could-
Mother, surely they can find somewhere else without destroying Elsmore.
They say that the house will be used as offices for the new company.
There must be some other land they can use.
Available? And at the right price? Mr. Hedges has got the executors in with him. I expect he got it very cheaply.
By giving them a share? Yes, he probably has. You know, this is nothing more than vandalism, Mother. And as their member of Parliament, I've got to fight it. Now, perhaps through the local council. They have powers under the Town and Country Planning Act. Oh, hell. I'm so sorry, Mother. But that's Hedges again. He's chairman of the local council. Still, there's the county council.
What about an appeal for a fund to save the land?
Yes, possibly. I'll have a word with Rosie on Saturday. Now, look, Mother, darling, would you mind holding the fort with the girls? I'll phone Layford and then I'll change.
Of course I will. Good luck, dear.
Well, Arthur asked if he could bring her over with them, and then last night said, could he talk to me before the others arrived?
Well, what goes on?
I don't know. Perhaps he wants to ask my opinion of her. He should really ask you. At least you've seen her.
Well, she's quite pretty.
I've seen a picture of her in the newspapers. She was married to Adrian Nairn, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Got rid of him rather publicly, too. Probably when you were in Spain. When's Peter coming back, darling?
Well, he's flying this afternoon, so about 7, I should think. In time for dinner, anyway.
Good.
Commander Bourne, madam.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Rosie, my dear. Oh, Laura.
Hello.
Oh.
Well, Arthur, what's happening? Are the others coming?
Yes, they're on their way. I wanted to word with you first, Rosie.
Oh, I must go over to the stable. I got a message from Eldrin from Peter. Excuse me.
Oh, how's Parsons' leg?
Oh, very much better. He even managed to drive the new runabout over from Hereford.
Yes, I saw it outside. Very smart. Rosie, something's come up and I want to word with you about it.
Well, sit down. I'll get you a drink.
Not for the moment, thanks. It's been reported in the local paper that Elsmore is going to be turned into a factory site.
Yes, I know.
Oh, you've read it too? Well, I'm damned if I'm going to let that happen. Trouble is, I can't raise the wind myself. What money I've got is tied up in industrial shares of one sort and another, and the market's taken a hell of a beating in the last few weeks. But I thought, if I could get a group of local people to raise enough money to outbid the Hedges Consortium, I could get the council with me and use the Town and Country Planning Act against the scheme.
I see.
Rosie, I know that Geoffrey formed a trust for you. Now, I wondered if some of that money couldn't go into the fund to save Elsmore. Now, I'd organise the whole thing. We'd form a company, of course. We could let out the fishing rights. Maybe even have a riding school. I think I could guarantee you a return on your money.
Arthur...
It would be such a worthwhile thing to do, Rosie.
Arthur, please, listen to me just for a second. Now, you, of all people, know the unemployment situation in your constituency.
Well, of course.
Now, here is a wonderful opportunity to do something about it.
Yes, but there must be other sites available.
Yes, but not at the price. You see, it's only been made possible for the Elsmore executors to put the land in at a reasonable price and become shareholders in the venture.
You seem very well informed about it.
Yes, well, I am well informed. I am an investor. All right, at least I'm going to be.
What? Rosie,
I want to help our farmers, Arthur, which I should have thought you'd want to do too. I want to see unemployment come down, which I would have thought you'd want to.
I see.
I think Elsmore as a beauty spot is lovely, but my other considerations are much more important. Talking of beauty spots, here come 3 of them.
What?
Liz, Vicky, and I presume Miss Angela Scott.
Oh, yes, of course.
I'm looking forward to meeting her, Arthur. She sounds very interesting.
Well, she's very bright. It's good of you to ask her over, Rosie.
Yes. Well, you asked her. However, I'm delighted. She did a very good article on you, Trey's Understanding.
Yes, well, she's come to do something on Hereford. She's meeting the Dean after church.
How lovely for her.
Miss Scott, madam.
Thank you.
The other young ladies are just following.
How do you do, Miss Scott? Welcome to Layford Park.
Thank you, Mrs. Cartland. It's a charming house.
Please sit down. I'm delighted to meet you, Miss Scott. I've read so many of your articles over the years.
I'm hoping to do another piece for the English Heritage series we're running.
Yes, so Arthur's been telling me. Well, now, what would you like to drink? Parsons is recovering from a broken leg, so we mustn't make him run about too much.
Oh, I'm quite all right now, madam, thank you.
You've been a little reticent so far, Arthur. Whiskey and soda?
Oh, fine.
Miss Scott.
Sherry, if I may.
Hello, darling. Just in time for an aperitif. What would you like?
Oh, a gin and lit, if I may, please.
Oh, high life, I say, Liz. I'll have the same, please.
And sherry for me.
Very good.
Hello, girls.
Hello, Daddy.
Did you get wet?
No, we came by car because of the rain.
Yes?
Jeffrey's car's just coming up the drive.
Oh, good.
Geoffrey?
Yes, I asked him over this morning. Well, we have so much to discuss. Laura and Peter's wedding. And now that our decree is absolute. Oh, you don't mind, do you, Arthur?
No, of course I don't mind. Good to see him again.
I believe you know my former husband, Miss Scott. Geoffrey Cartland.
Yes, we have mutual friends.
Oh, good. How cosy. Well, I suggest while we wait for Parsons to bring the drinks, we'll show Miss Scott over the house, if that's what she'd like.
I'd love to.
You can look after Geoffrey for a few minutes?
Oh, certainly.
Ask him about Elsmore, Arthur. That's really why I asked him. Right, girls, shall we go? A small tour of inspection?
Ah, I think I hear a large Scotch arriving, Parsons.
Sir? Oh, Mr. Cartland. With soda, sir, like yours.
Splendid, Parsons. That's for me. Hello, Arthur. Where is
Geoffrey?
everybody?
Oh, they're showing a guest of mine round the house.
Oh, yes. Yes, I had heard the lovely Miss Scott was visiting. Oh, how's the legs, Parsons?
Oh, mending well, thank you, sir.
I see you deliver the new car.
Yes, sir. Excuse me, Commander. There was a slight problem about the cheque. The dealer insisted on giving me this credit note.
Oh, trade discount, Parsons. You're in luck. That should keep you in petrol for about 12 months.
Splendid. Thank you very much, sir.
Some advantages to the motor business, I suppose. How's Westminster?
Recessing, thank goodness. It's been a very busy time.
What the hell goes on with this air mission you chaps have sent to America?
It's absolutely vital, Geoffrey. We must have more aeroplanes.
Why don't you listen to Nuffield? And we ought to be on production line stuff, not bench built. It's all very well winning the Schneider Trophy race, but we're going to need thousands of planes, not just one. Oh, and by the way, what's all this I hear about you and Miss Scott?
I don't know what you're getting at.
Oh, come on. Candlelit dinners, etc.?
She did an interview on me.
Yes, I know. And it was good, too. Tinged with admiration, old man, I thought. Now, I was quite envious. She did a piece about me once. She called me a velvet fist in a chainmail gauntlet. I wasn't too sure how to take that.
Very accurate, I'd say.
How did she get on with Rosie?
Well, how should I know? She was only here 5 minutes. She was taking on a tour of the house. Then you arrived like a small hurricane. I don't know what's going on at all.
Oh, well, never mind. No, actually, I've come to see Rosie after a call from her about the Elsmore business. Oh, and a chat to Adrian Hedges. He's one of the money men on the deal.
Yes, well, I imagine he's the only one with the ready cash. The pools win, you know.
Yes, that's about it. He's got the Elsmore people with him.
Geoffrey, I want to keep Elsmore as it is. I want your help.
Yes, I imagined you would.
As the ladies are still going round the house, gentlemen, I thought you might be ready for a refill.
No, I'm all right, thank you,
Well
Parsons.
done, Parsons.
Sir.
Now, in point of fact, I might be able to help a bit, Arthur. But I'll have to get Rosie off the idea, and I shall need a good deal of cooperation from you.
Well, I don't see how I can help you.
Oh, yes. Yes, you most certainly can. Thank you, Parsons. Now, you sit there and relax and enjoy your drink, and I'll try and outline the plan to you. I think, as you do, that Britain's time is running out. And we virtually lost this armaments race with Germany. And I believe in Nuffield and his methods. So I'm expanding the works into tanks, Armoured cars, personnel carriers, military vehicles of all sorts. Now, it's not official yet, but the War Office are going to help arrange things financially.
And about time, too.
Yes, but when I get my lines together, I'm going to have a storage problem. And what I'm going to need is land for the storage of the vehicles in case of the bombs fall.
When, I fear?
Yes, when.
Well, how do I come into it?
Well, you're the local MP. Pressure on the county council and on the local council for the land, Elsmore, under the Town and Country Planning Act.
But they'd never wear it, Geoffrey. Not without endless committees of inquiry.
But Hedges would wear it. If you were to offer him a possible, and I repeat, possible, government lease for that land for vehicle storage without destroying the beauty of the place.
I see. You mean if Hedges thinks he can do a deal, he'll up the price of it and let the Elsmore people out by doing so?
Yes. So he gets the estate, and later on the rent from HMG without doing a damn thing. The district gets its employment from me, and Elsmore stays as it is, green and beautiful and covered in tanks.
I wonder.
It's worth a try, Arthur. Right. Now, order of persuasion. First, Rosie. That's me. Second, Hedges.
Me?
No, I don't think so. We can't afford to have you compromised in case anything goes wrong.
It sounds as if it was criminal. How would I be compromised?
Well, Hedges has got to believe that the government will need that land. And he's also got to think that he had a tip-off.
A leak?
Yes.
Through the press, you mean?
Oh, Angela Scott.
Well, how could she do that?
I'll talk to her. No, better still, I'll get Rosie to talk to her. But first we must get Hedges to Larkfield.
When?
Well, tonight, if that's all right with you.
I'm so sorry to have deserted you. Geoffrey, how nice to see you again. Oh, good, you've got a drink.
I'm afraid I shall have to be leaving soon, but I would like to have a word with you before we go.
Yes, about Elsmore.
Hello, father-in-law to be.
Nora.
How are you?
Where's Peter?
Oh, he's flying. Back later tonight. I expect he'll telephone from the drone. Well, here you are, girls. I think you'll need it.
Oh, thank you, Rosie.
Miss Scott.
Thank you.
Angela. What a nice surprise to see you again.
From me, too.
I didn't know you were old friends.
Well, we're not exactly old friends, but Angela did an interview with me once, remember?
My former husband knows Geoffrey.
Adrian Nairn?
Of course. We're all great admirers of his.
So is he.
Oh, am I missing out on a joke?
I was just being the tiniest bit catty.
Oh. Oh, Angela, I'd like to show you something. See this exquisite Georgian snuff box? Rosie picked it up.
Geoffrey, I want to talk to you about Elsmore and the trust. Our trust.
Good. I think I've got an answer for you, but perhaps not the one you're expecting, but one which may serve the national interest.
I know that approach of old. I suspect a euphemism for Geoffrey Cartland's interest.
Well, perhaps that too, but let me explain, Rosie.
I don't think Daddy should canoodle in public.
Oh, that should solve it to everyone's satisfaction. But the problem is to get Hedges to cooperate.
I'm so sorry. Hedges to what?
Cooperate?
To change direction, you mean?
Quite so.
Well, that means asking them to dinner. Even if it means asking Mrs. Horror, too.
But not here. Arthur's going to try and get them for tonight.
Mr. Hedges' car doing here?
Been to dinner. She's not with him, though.
Who's she, the cat's mother?
Mrs. Hedges. She got a cold and couldn't come.
What's going on? I never thought the commander would ask him to dinner.
Oh, it's not dinner, really. Well, they had a large lunch over at Layford. So it's just cold meat and soup and cheese. Our lovely Stilton. Tinned peaches and cream.
Ah, not a bad menu. What's for me, then?
Just cold meat and soup and cheese.
Stilton?
Stilton. And tinned peaches.
And?
Cream.
Ah.
In about 10 minutes.
Right. What is going on, then?
Now, if you ask me, I think it's something to do with Elsmore.
You know, it's just as well that Granny's gone to dine with the Braithwaites tonight. Something I don't think that she gets on with Adrian Hedges. Oh, Laura, you go. For Peter, probably.
Right. Hello, Larkfield Manor. Oh, yes. Hello, darling.
That's my stepson, Peter.
Yes.
You'll probably meet him tomorrow. Then the only other member you've missed is Klaus.
Oh, yes, I know all about him. Arthur told me the story when I did the article on him. The dailies made so much fuss about Arthur's relationship with Klaus's parents.
Thank goodness all that's blown over.
I think Arthur was irritated rather than hurt by it.
Probity is a marvellous shield against tittle-tattle, I find.
I see. Yes, it certainly is. I'm sure Arthur's friends and certainly his constituents know that anything he does is never for self-aggrandizement. Get you some food.
I wonder how Mr. Hedges is taking it.
Well, could you have gone ahead with the factory without Geoffrey's consent?
Yes, probably. There might have been a problem or two.
Namely, Geoffrey and Arthur jointly.
Oh, and separately. Once Arthur gets hold of something like this, he doesn't let go very easily. And if he loses, he takes it very hard.
Oh, thank you.
I don't want to make it any harder for him.
And Geoffrey?
Well, as you said yourself about you and your husband. Your friends now the dust is settled. It's the same with Geoffrey and me. I respect his judgment over this, and his own expansion plans will make a great difference to the unemployment situation locally.
How long have you known Mr. Hedges?
Oh, about 2 years. He's all right. His wife is a bit of a trial. She ought to carry an alpenstock and wear heavy boots.
Oh, now that's interesting. I might be able to help after all.
Peter's going straight back to Layford, so I thought I'd join him for a nightcap. Liz, be an angel and give me a lift over.
And miss the result here?
Oh, go on, Liz, you'll be back in a flash.
We'll all go then.
Oh, you dog in the manger.
Don't worry, I'll walk.
Go and get Travis me a
Oh, what are you doing? It depends on whether my car starts.
Oh, I see. What on earth is going on?
Well, we thought we'd all go and see Peter. Rosie, I hope everything works out the way you want it.
Well, the way Arthur and Geoffrey want it. Yes.
Well, we won't stay long.
All right, darling.
Oh, my train. Okay, girls.
Oh, my God. They're taking their time in there. How goes it?
Difficult.
I don't see it, Arthur. There's too many ifs for me. I mean, it's all very well for Mr. Cartland to say he's going to expand, but he's got to finance that first.
Yes, well, I don't know whether I should say this, but from what he told me, I understand he's already arranged his finance.
Oh. You mean, from the government?
Well, not directly from the government, no. But the government can help indirectly, as you know.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean. But I would have thought, well, with the way you feel about showing strength to Germany, you'd want a thing like armaments being built up, well, to be publicized as much as possible.
Yes, well, sometimes a leak is better publicity than a statement.
Oh, yes, there is that, of course, I see. Have you any idea of the amount involved?
No, not really.
Millions, probably.
Peter's business is flying, isn't it?
Yes, with Poole Aviation, a subsidiary of Geoffrey's. But this afternoon he's been flying with the Auxiliary Air Force.
Well, you probably know my young cousin. He's in the AAF, too.
Well, you can ask him tomorrow. Well?
Tricky. I'm just giving Geoffrey a moment.
I suppose the expansion would cost a great amount of money.
Oh, heavens, yes.
But there are ways of raising the wind when governments blow into the sail, eh?
Well, it's the dispersal of the hardware.
Hardware?
Well, tanks, armoured cars and so on.
Oh, yes.
But Arthur did add that approval is certain.
No, he didn't.
Oh, I see. Well, perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Oh, not at all. Absolutely mum, old chap.
But you see, the rent for that amount of storage would be immense.
Yes.
So the land could stay as it is and pay for itself most handsomely. The house is a bit of English history in itself. I believe Cardinal Wolsey used it at one time.
Oh, really?
And the rose garden would attract visitors if it was properly kept up.
Visitors?
Oh, yes. Yes, do the place up when it's no longer needed for storage. Open it to the public. You know, visit a stately home, sit in the chair Cardinal Wolsey sat in, touch the four-poster bed Queen Elizabeth slept in. You know the
I found some cigarettes. Mrs. Gates must have forgotten to fill the box in the hall. Here.
Oh, no thanks. I only smoke a pipe.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to think about all this very carefully, gentlemen. Of course, I shall have to discuss it with Mrs. Hedges.
Oh, of course.
All right.
Oh, forgive me, Arthur. I heard sounds of your chat breaking up. I wondered if Mr. Hedges could spare me a few minutes. I don't want to bore you by monopolising him, but we journalists try not to miss the opportunity for a good story.
I don't think there is any story here, Miss Scott.
Perhaps you'd let me tell you what I have in mind?
Well, if Mr. Hedges has no objection.
Fire away.
Oh, come on, Geoffrey. Let's leave Angela to her victim. Perhaps you'd play hostess and refill Mr. Hedges' glass.
Yes, of course. Is this your glass, Mr. Hedges?
Well, I said I wouldn't be long. I really ought to go.
Oh, without waiting for an answer?
Well, I have every confidence in Miss Scott's powers of persuasion, and particularly as she's been briefed by Rosie. Good night, Rosie.
Good night.
Your drink, Mr. Hedges.
Oh, thank you.
I gather what's been happening, and I must say, as the author of the English Heritage series...
Oh, I've been reading them. Well, it was Mrs. Hedges who brought them to my attention. Yes, she takes your magazine. I think they're quite good. Quite good indeed.
Thank you. Wouldn't Elsmore make a splendid subject?
Elsmore?
Yes. You see, all the houses, cathedrals and so on that I've covered... I'm doing Hereford Cathedral tomorrow, by the way. Oh, please. Well, they're all owned by or open to the public. And my interviews in the articles have been with the benefactors, trustees, or owners connected to the property.
Yeah, but we haven't quite yet made up our mind.
If Elsmore were to remain as it is, the house, the gardens, and the lake, and open to the public, well, it might be a trust or bequest even. It could be leased to the government for Geoffrey's tanks, only temporarily, of course, until all this scary warmongering is over.
Yes, that is a possibility.
I'm sure Arthur would be very pleased indeed. He might even be able to put a word in the right quarter for some kind of recognition for the benefactor. And who knows what form that might take.
Yes, I see. And, when would you want to do this article?
Oh, just as soon as you'd made up your mind. Oh, you and Mrs. Hedges, of course. I could start with the history side of the place right away and fill in the details about the two of you later on.
Oh, hello, you two. Interview over?
Oh, yes, and quite painless, thanks to this charming lady.
Oh.
Well, now, I must be getting back to Mrs. Hedges, so I'll say good night, Mrs. Cartland, Commander Arthur.
Yes, well, I'll see you out.
Thank you.
Good night, Mr. Hedges.
Good night.
Oh, hello, you two.
Pauline.
Cathedral ride in one piece?
Yes, Daddy. Laura told us to vamoose, you know.
Vamoose?
Vanish, get lost.
Oh.
Peter's going to bring her back later.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the dinner, and I think I can say that I'll be able to let you have a reply tomorrow. And after all, we all have a responsibility when it comes to preservation of our heritage.
Good, well, that's grand. Oh, by the by, you're chairman of the local council. Maybe a recommendation to the county council, you know, just a safeguard to make quite sure that it stays preserved.
Not a bad idea, that. Well, thanks again, and good night.
All right, well, drive carefully. Oh, my best regards to Winifred.
You're being very fulsome towards Hedges, aren't you? I've never heard anything like it.
Well, we conservationists must keep together, mustn't we? Now a drink, I think. And the toast must be Fleet Street. And the clever Angela Scott.
Thank you. But it was Mrs. Cartland's idea.
It's good to know that the press still have a little power of persuasion.
Oh. Well, to both of you. To all of you. My thanks.
melancholy, Vicky, dear.
Yes, well, it's a very melancholy time, isn't
Hello,
it?
Klaus.
Good afternoon, Lady Bourne.
I had a little nap after tea. Was there anything new on the wireless? Is your father home?
We're sure to be late from the Admiralty.
One feels so out of touch when one gets old. I don't really understand what's going on, but nobody seems to be capable of explaining it. What's wrong with these Sudeten people?
They're Germans who live in Czechoslovakia.
About 3 million of them, Klaus says. They feel oppressed. So do I in this house today.
Now, what does he want?
Who?
There's a man with big muddy boots tramping across the lawn.
I expect he's come to see Mr. Parry in the estate office.
Well, you should know better than to take shortcuts across the lawn. This would never have happened if your father had been looking after the estate himself still.
He couldn't. Once he went into Parliament, he had to get an agent.
And who's this man, Hemline?
Henlein. He's the leader of the Germans in Czechoslovakia. And
Go away. The impertinence. I really don't know what the world's coming to. Trouble with Czechoslovakia. They always seemed such kind people.
Actually, I think it's the Nazis who are the main trouble.
No, Vicky.
Well, you're not a Nazi any longer.
I do not approve of many things which are done now inside the fatherland, but I do support its foreign policy.
Now, Klaus, my dear boy, of course it's quite right that you should be patriotic, but do you want another war?
Certainly not. And there's no reason why there should be one. All that the Fuhrer is asking is for the German peoples of Europe to be united in the Reich.
Well, on the face of it, that sounds reasonable. If they want to be united.
I'm sure they do.
Well, I wonder.
Excuse me, please, but do you not also wonder about all the millions of Indians and Africans and West Indians in your empire? Do they want to be subjects of the British Crown?
Oh, that's quite different. We brought them Christianity and civilization and good government.
Perhaps. Nevertheless, they are still subject peoples. The Fuhrer is not trying to subject anybody, only to unite Germans. Ein Volk, ein Reich. Already he has made the Anschluss with Austria. Now it is time for the Sudeten Germans also to become part of the Reich.
But will that be the end? If he does get the Sudeten land, will Hitler stop there?
Yes. At least I hope so. I believe so.
And if he doesn't, if President Benesch refuses to give way?
I don't know, Vicky. I dare not think of it.
My dear boy, you seem just as confused as the rest of us. What was it that man said in the Irish play? The whole world is in a state of chassis.
I beg your pardon?
What with labourers tramping across the lawn, and Hitler and Henlein and Benesch. What's Benesch doing about it all, anyway?
I'm not sure, Granny. I think he's...
No, don't tell me now, darling. It'll only upset me. I'll talk to your father later. Play something for me. Trouble with the Germans, indeed. Oh, Klaus, you gave us beautiful music for hundreds of years, and now we're going to fight you again. I don't see the sense in it.
Yes? Oh, come in, Bryce. You got my message, then?
John Macy stopped by my cottage this morning.
Well, shut the door. Now, I suppose you know why I want to see you.
I reckon so. And I know why I want to see you.
Oh?
I want my wages, Mr. Parry.
You want your wages? I've been doing a bit of reckoning, Bryce. I think you owe me an explanation. Where in hell's name have you been these last 10 days?
I've been home.
Home?
That's what I said.
Not sick, are you?
No, Mr. Parry. I'm not sick.
Then perhaps you'll be good enough to explain why you haven't been at your work.
Oh, you know why. John Macy gave you the reason at my request.
I want to hear it from you, Bryce.
I've a wife laid low with a chest so chronic she can't set foot from her bed. And two little ones poorly with a waist and the doctor can't make out. Now who's to care for them while my wife's sick?
Have you had the nurse in?
She drops by twice a week.
Relatives?
I'm new to this part of the country, Mr. Parry. I come here because there was a job with a dwelling. I don't cart my relations after me like a gypsy.
Then do what the others do.
What's that?
Make arrangements with neighbours and so forth.
They do what they can, but there's a limit to the help folks can't give.
Always excuses. Do you know what I think of you, Bryce? And your type?
That's a pretty fair idea.
You're a shirker. I've watched you, and I've kept records. Let's have a look at your record, shall we? Bryce?
Oh, it's you. We thought we heard a car.
Hello, Mother. Vicky, darling. Klaus.
Commander.
I shan't be wanting you any more this evening, Gates. You're going out, aren't you?
That's right, Commander. Here, thank you very much.
Liz at home?
Yes, she's upstairs. She's just arrived.
Arthur, do come and sit down and tell us what's going on. Klaus seems to think we needn't worry.
I did not say that there was nothing to worry about.
The news sounds appalling. Will the Czech president give way? And if he doesn't, will there be another war? Or will he allow the Germans to be united?
Mother, please. One question at a time. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Daddy.
Every week in Birmingham.
Things could have been worse. Well, how are things in the house?
Your father was just on the point of telling us.
Not too good, I'm afraid. The Germans have started accusing the Czechs of a terror, which isn't true, and...
Excuse me, Commander, but how can you be sure it is not true?
Well, you must know that all governments have their sources of information. But, true or not, there's no doubt the German troops are moving towards the frontier.
This is probably a precaution only.
Or a bit of sabre rattling.
But there are still negotiations, yes?
I think so, yes. That man Henlein's still talking.
Ah, I know about him.
Yes, well, he's negotiating, or should I say demanding, concessions from the Czech President Beneš. Frankly, it doesn't look too hopeful.
If Beneš were to grant a plebiscite in the Sudetenland,
Why should he?
the principle of self-determination was laid down in the Versailles Treaty.
But not under threat of invasion. If you ask me, Hitler and Henlein don't want the negotiations to succeed.
No, I don't know. Certainly an impasse at the conference table will give them precisely the excuse they need.
And what are we going to do about it? Stand by and watch them march in as we did with Austria?
We're not alone in the world, you know. What are the Russians going to do? What are the French going to do? They're pledged to Czechoslovakia. Well, you know, the official view, we can't act alone. We are not prepared.
Yes, and damn pusillanimous it is.
Listen.
It's a good excuse for doing nothing.
Well, to be fair, the Foreign Secretary has sent a warning to Hitler.
Meaning it, or is it just a bluff?
Bluff or not, we must hope it works.
And if it doesn't, the Nazis take over the Sudetens, is that it?
They're Germans, Elizabeth. They should be united in the
Klaus,
Reich.
for heaven's sake, don't start again. It'll only end in a ghastly row. I think I'll go up if you don't mind. See you later.
Vicky, my dear, I am sorry. I promise I shall not speak of politics again this whole weekend.
Poor little thing, it's so unfair. At just the time of her life when she ought to be so happy.
If you're needed so badly at home, answer me this. How do you find time to go drinking in the Barley Mow? You've been seen there, so I shouldn't deny it.
A man needs some relaxation.
You're no better than a common thief. You take the commander's wages and then you dodge your work and go drinking in a public house.
Wages, 31 shillings a week.
Oh, you have a complaint about your wages.
Show me a man who hasn't.
Would you care to elaborate on that, Bryce? You've been talking about it quite a bit, haven't you?
Oh, that's what this is all about. Scared I might get the men making demands. That'd cause you a bit of bother, eh?
You're a troublesome character, Bryce. I know what you've been saying. I've heard the men talking.
There's no law says a man can't voice his opinions.
Then don't try spreading your ideas round here. The days of agitating are gone forever, since 1926.
Aye. They'll be back to the days of poor law if you and your kind have their way.
Me and my kind. And who are they?
Landlords. Living in their big houses and gadding up to London. We'd never have thought for me and my kind who makes the wealth. And you? You're a little more than an errand boy, aren't you? An educated errand boy doing their dirty work, keeping their hands nice and clean.
I work, Bryce. Don't you think I'd keep my job if I spent my time drinking? Well, you just think about that when you're feeling so damn sorry for yourself. There are plenty of people on this estate with problems far worse than yours who manage to get themselves to work. Now get out.
About my wages. I want my wages.
You haven't earned any.
I'm not budging till you pay me. I've food to buy my little ones. I must have money.
To squander in the barley mow?
Ah, 2 drinks. Is that going to be flung on me forever? Look, I'll be back at work just as soon as my wife's fit.
You'll never be back, Bryce. Not if I have my way. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see the commander, and I'm going to recommend that you're dismissed. Now, are you going, or do I have to have you thrown out?
I've, not read many books, Mr. Parry, but them I've read good. There are things happening in the world right at this moment that ordinary folk have no control
I
over.
don't want to listen to
Do you
your
know why they're
politics.
happening? To satisfy the appetites of you and your kind.
That is quite enough, Bryce. Take your complaints to the National Unemployed Workers Movement, if you can find a branch round here.
I'm not letting it get me down, not tonight. I'm putting it right out of my head.
But it doesn't seem proper.
What doesn't?
Well, going gadding out at a time like this. Going dancing when there's so much trouble facing us.
What do you say, Mr. Parsons?
Well, it is a British Legion dinner, and if the Legion thought that it was in any way improper, I'm sure they would have cancelled it.
There you are. It's old soldiers. And if old soldiers who've served king and country don't know what's proper, I'd like to know who does.
Well, I still don't feel like it.
Oh, don't be such a misery, Eileen.
Well, how about another drink? Put you in a more cheerful mood, Mrs. Gale.
Oh, I don't know as I should. Mr. Parsons, I've already had one.
We've all had one. And now we'll all have another one. Would you do the honours, Mr. Parsons?
Certainly, Mr. Gale.
Still locked in conference? But to my mind, it's a farce that's been allowed to go on far too long. Nothing short of an invasion is going to satisfy Hitler. Remember Churchill in the House last month? A programme of aggression. Nicely timed, unfolding stage by stage. Yes. Yes, there's a full alert in Whitehall. Just a question of sweating it out. Let me know if you hear anything, will you? Yes, I'm expecting him to telephone me any minute. Bye, goodbye. Yes? Could I have a word with you, Commander? What is it, Parry? It's just a spot of bother with one of the labourers. I know how busy you are with far more important things, and I don't like troubling you with trifles at a time like this.
Never mind all that. Now, what is it?
A chap named Bryce, been here 6 months or so, you'll recall.
Bryce?
Lives in one of those cottages in Chestnut Lane.
Oh, what about him?
And he hasn't turned up for work for 10 days.
Was he ill?
No, he's not ill. Fit as a fiddle, actually. Well, fit enough to go drinking in the barley mow. Been seen there on numerous occasions.
Well, you had him in?
Oh, yes.
Any explanation?
Oh, none that holds any water. Of course, I'd be willing to deal with it myself, but I thought in view of the misunderstanding of the Woods cottage...
Hello?
Yes?
Oh, ask him to hang on a moment, would you? Look, Parry, I am rather busy.
Yes, I can see that, sir. Look, it's just a minor problem. Shall I go ahead and deal with it as I think fit?
Well, a work-shy labourer is not very complicated, is it?
Not at all. I'll deal with it right away. Sorry to trouble you, Commander.
Hello? Yeah, oh, George, sorry to have kept you waiting. Yes, I didn't leave the Admiralty till this afternoon. The telegrams are rushing in faster than we could decode them.
You're looking very pleased with yourself, Mr. Parry.
Oh, Dr. Bourne, I'm sorry I didn't see you sitting there. You, are down for a rest?
I've just 5 days to be thoroughly lazy. How are things on the estate?
Oh, well, we have our problems, but they're nothing compared to the international situation.
I heard in the village that Nancy Bryce has a problem. The same problem with her health.
Yes, I'd heard something, too. Still, she's a strong woman. I wouldn't worry.
She may be a big woman, but it doesn't follow that she's strong.
An expert's judgment, what can I say?
It's hardly surprising the woman's ill again. The conditions in her cottage are disgusting.
In all the cottages. Conditions are bad in all the cottages.
Do you really believe that?
Oh, yes. It's not just the Bryces. There are many far worse off. As a matter of fact, I was drawing up a list of improvements that should be given urgent consideration. I was going to go through the details with your father this weekend, but I'd be grateful for your advice on this.
Yes?
Do you think that this is the right moment?
Well, he has got rather a lot on his mind.
Yes, that's what I thought. So, better not mention the cottages or Mrs. Bryce.
for the time being. Thank you. Yes, we'll leave it till he can give the matter his full consideration.
Yes, all right, Mr. Parry.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Enjoy your rest.
Thank you.
Break of morn. You feeling better now?
Yeah, silly of me, wasn't it? But I just didn't feel like it. I'm all right now.
Must be all those dances I promised you. After the dancers leaving, many a heart is aching.
Don't you be so conceited.
What do you mean?
Well, all those dances you promised me, nothing to do with it.
What made you perk up then?
More likely all that beer Mr. Parsons brought.
Me and my girl meant for each other.
Klaus?
More coffee, Arthur?
No, thank you, Mother.
Liz? No. Vicky?
No, thank you, Gran.
Charles?
No, thank you.
Well, in that case, I think I'll go up. It's been rather a tiring day. Although I must admit, I was wrong about Mrs. Gates. As cold collations go, it was quite delicious.
Good night, Mother.
Night, dear. Night,
Granny.
Vicky.
Good night, Lady
Klaus.
Bond.
Doesn't it strike you as odd?
What?
At a moment like this, when we're on the brink of war, we've all changed for a help-yourself cold supper.
We shouldn't let standards slip, whatever the circumstances.
Well, what are the circumstances? Nobody really knows. But if France and Britain do what they ought to do and stand up to the Germans...
Oh, Liz, don't!
I'm sorry, Vicky, it's important. If we do what we ought to do, any day now the heavens will open and thousands of tons of explosives will spill into the hearts of our cities. I shall be up all night patching up maimed bodies. And whatever you're doing, will you be doing it in a dinner jacket?
Liz!
I'm sorry I'm confused and tired. It's been an awful week. I want to sort things out. I just can't stop thinking about what those German bombers did to Guernica.
Dressing for dinner may appear to be an empty ritual, but isn't that what societies have always done? Clung to ritual for support and reassurance, especially in times of peril. Didn't you find evidence of that on your archaeological dig?
Wise, Papa. You're right, of course. Infuriatingly right. Just when I wanted an argument.
No more argument, please, Liz.
Not with me. I have promised not to speak of politics.
I just don't see how we can help it. Are they still talking, the Czechs and Sudeteners?
Well, they were an hour ago, which is a good sign.
If they agree about anything. History seems to be full of meetings and conferences with nobody ever agreeing.
Oh, I don't know. What about the Congress of Vienna after Waterloo? Hmm? The Allies managed to pass one uncontested resolution.
What was that?
That Brie should be called the King of Cheeses.
Mrs. Kate, why should the dance?
I knew we shouldn't have gone. I knew it wasn't right.
What's happened?
It's not Gates' fault, sir. He's not to blame. There's nobody more careful.
Now, Mrs. Gates, try and pull yourself together. What isn't his fault?
He's hit somebody. An old man come out of a side road, right in front of us. There's old Reynolds on his bike.
Is he hurt?
Yes, miss. I think he's hurt bad. I couldn't get a word out of him.
Yes,
We
now,
laid there all
yes,
crumpled
Mrs.
up.
Gates, have you called the police, the ambulance?
No, sir, because this was in his phone.
Yes.
I ran
Where
back
did
and
this
left him there. About half a mile down the road towards Albury, near Rifkin's
Liz?
farm.
I'll get my bag.
Police. As quick as you can, please, Mrs. Barker.
Oh, please, God, you'll be all right. Please, God, she'll be able to do something for it.
She'll do all she can, Mrs. Gates.
Now, this is Commander Bourne speaking. There's been an accident about half a mile from here on the Holbury Road. Yes, my daughter's gone to see what help she can give, but naturally she'll need an ambulance. Right, thank you. Goodbye.
I'll take your car, see what I can do in the
Yes. Well, there's nothing more we can do at the moment, Mrs. Gates. Now, you've had a terrible shock, so just drink this. There's nothing more we can do now but hope and wait.
That's what it is, isn't it? A weekend of waiting and hoping.
Has anybody moved him?
No, I've heard it said it's best not to. Thank goodness you come, Miss Liz.
Has he said anything, made any movement?
No, nothing. I don't know what happened. I wasn't going fast. We were in plenty of time. I was just driving along steady, miss, and he suddenly wobbled out in the road in front of me.
All right. Come along now. Move back there. Well, evening, Dr. Bourne. Ambulance should be along soon.
I'm afraid the ambulance won't be of much practical use. He's dead.
It was you in charge of the vehicle, Mr. Gates?
Yeah.
Then I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to accompany me to the station.
But it was an accident.
Well, that says maybe. It'll be up for the coroner to decide. But there's questions I'm obliged to ask you, Mr. Gates.
Won't you have to wait around here for the ambulance?
Yeah?
Gates is very shaken. Couldn't you ask your questions later up at the house? Well, is there any point in making him wait around here?
Yeah, but there's procedures laid
Yes,
down.
yes, I know. But Gates isn't going to run away. I can vouch for that.
Well, very well, Dr. Bourne. I'll accept your word for it. I'll see you later. Now, come on. Haven't you folk anything better to do? Stand gawping at a dead man. Now, come along. Come along. Move yourselves home now. That's it.
I wasn't going fast. I never goes fast. Well, you ask the commander if I'm in the habit of driving fast.
It's perfectly true, officer. Gates has been driving for me for how long is it?
14 years, sir.
And not once during that time have I had occasion to reprimand him for careless driving.
Oh, I seem to remember you spilling your missus out of a sidecar one time.
I didn't spill her out, she fell out.
Oh, we must have taken a corner a bit sharpish for that to happen.
Yeah, I think we'd better confine our remarks to this present incident.
I've no intention of doing otherwise, Commander. Now, you say the deceased, Mr. Reynolds, wobbled out in front of you?
Yes.
Were his lights on?
Why should they be? It wasn't lighting up time.
Ah, yes. And did he ring his bell when he came out the side road?
I don't know. I wouldn't hear the sound of a bicycle bell with the sound of my car's engine.
Quite. And did you eat your own?
Why should I? It was my right of way.
Yeah. Well, it's a good job for you. You was on your way to the dance and not coming back from it.
I don't follow.
Well, on your way back, likely as not, you'd have had a few drinks inside you. There'll be witnesses to testify as to how many. And that wouldn't go down too well at an inquest or any subsequent proceedings. Excuse me, sir. Mr. Gates? Would you mind standing over there on the corner of the carpet, Mr. Gates?
What for?
Just stand on the line in the pattern.
Go on.
Like this?
Right. Now, Mr. Gates, I want you to walk the length of the line in the pattern, steady-like, making sure that your feet don't leave it. Yeah. No visible signs of intoxication. Well, I think we can leave it there for tonight, Commander.
Yes, but what'll happen now?
Well, there'll be a closer examination of the scene of the accident in the morning, road surface examination for skid marks and irregularities, etc.
measurement of vehicles at position of impact, etc. Then the inquest, which naturally you will be required to attend.
If anybody needs convincing that Gates is a most careful driver, you will let me know.
I'm sure your words will carry great weight, sir. Good night, Doctor.
Good night.
Well, naturally, the opinion of a man in your position will receive the consideration it warrants, sir. But finally, it will be up to the coroner.
Yes, of course, Green. Well, good night.
Good night, sir.
Did I hear the sweet sound of strings being played? Not to say pulled.
Now, don't you stop parading your social conscience at this time of night, young lady.
I'm very grateful to you for that, sir.
What?
For putting a word in for me, sir. It must have helped a great deal.
Not you as well. Now, you listen to me. Whatever I do to help you, I will not pervert the course of justice. I'll do what little I can to help you, just so long as I believe in your innocence. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, what speed were you doing?
What?
What speed when you knocked the old man down?
Well, I don't know, sir.
You don't know?
Well, 40.
40?
Sir.
You were approaching a bend at Rifkin's farm.
But I had time to pull up, sir.
You thought you had time to pull up? When did you last have your brakes tested?
Well, I can't remember.
You can't remember? It's your car, your responsibility.
Well, not long ago, sir, a few weeks. The brakes were all right, sir. I used them at the level crossing.
What happened just before the accident?
I was just driving, sir.
Not talking?
Talking?
To Mrs. Gates?
Oh, yes. Well, we were talking, sir, and having a bit of a sing.
You were singing?
We were on our way to a dance, sir. Mrs. Gates didn't want to go, and I was trying to cheer her up a bit.
I never heard you sing in the car before.
I respect her. It's not quite the same driving you as it is driving Mrs. Gates.
You sure you hadn't been drinking?
Well,
are you or are you not? Now answer the question.
Well, sir, Mr. Parsons did come round with...
With what?
Bottle of pale ales.
So, you had been drinking?
Well, only 2 glasses, sir.
You lied to the constable?
Well, he never asked me direct, sir, if I've been drinking.
Are they small glasses, big glasses?
Tumblers. Oh, but there's nothing in pale ale, sir. It's all fizz.
You hadn't had your brakes tested. You're going off to a dance, in a party mood. You're laughing and singing, and you'd been drinking, and you lied to the police. You caused that accident, Gates.
No, sir.
You knocked the old man off his bicycle.
Yes, sir.
You knocked him down and killed him because you were intoxicated.
Well, only 2 glasses, sir. He wobbled out in front of me before I had
time to put your brakes on. If you hadn't been intoxicated, your reactions would have been quicker.
But I tell you, it's all fizz in pale ale. And I did that drink about an hour before, sir. And I'd had a sandwich and that soaks it up. Oh, I'm sorry to have shouted, sir.
You realise if you weren't responsible for the accident, there's only one other person who could have been.
Well, the old man himself?
No, Gates.
Well, then who, sir?
Me.
You, sir?
Yes. I lent you the money to buy the car. We went and looked at it together, and I had a good look under the bonnet, and I advanced you £30.
Very generous it was.
Yes. Well, if I'd been a little more generous, if I'd advanced you, say, £60, you could have bought a car with good steering and brakes.
Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that car, sir.
That's nothing more than a rusty sardine tin. If only I'd been a little more generous, poor old Reynolds might still be alive today.
I'll not have that, Commander. That's not true. I'll match my car for maintenance against any in the district. To blame that car, sir, is all poppycock. Oh, I'm sorry, Commander. I don't know what's got into me.
Marine Gates!
Sir!
Fall out.
But... Permission to speak, sir?
Go ahead.
Well, sir, it wasn't my fault, but I'll not allow you to blame yourself, sir.
Go to bed, man. I know now you're innocent. Try and get some sleep.
But how comes that you're suddenly so sure, sir?
A man who stands accused of manslaughter doesn't risk the wrath of his employer by accusing him of talking... What was the word? Poppycock?
I'm very ashamed of that, sir.
Oh, no need to be. You're proud of your car, but even so, if you really thought you caused the accident, you'd have jumped at the chance of blaming it on a deficient lump of metal.
I hope not, sir.
Good night, Gates.
Good night, sir.
Good walk, darling?
The walk was good. My thoughts were not.
I know. I've been reading the papers.
Vicky, if I stay here, as the situation as it is, there will only be more quarrels. I've decided to go back to London today.
When?
If Gates or someone can drive me to the station, I believe there's a train about 1 o'clock.
Shall I go with you?
Could you?
Why not? I'm sure Daddy wouldn't mind, and Aunt Phil can put me up. And we can go out every evening and forget about the horrors.
Good. Let us do that.
Where's Gates? Why hasn't he brought the car round? I'm going to be late for morning service. You're coming too, aren't you, Vicky?
I'm not sure, Granny.
Oh, but you must come to church and pray for peace. You too, Klaus. And you, Elizabeth. You are coming, aren't you, dear?
Coming where?
To church.
Oh, must I? I came down for a restful weekend.
Well, I shouldn't think there was anything very strenuous about being driven to church and hearing one of Mr. Hallam's nice sermons. Very restful, I should call it.
What to say, soporific?
Elizabeth, you're becoming far too catty.
I'm sorry, Granny. Of course I'll come.
Then find Gates.
Gates? Oh, yes.
Oh, dear.
It's no good, Commander. I'll never drive again.
His nerves gone, sir.
I haven't slept a wink. I kept seeing that old man lying on the road. I'll never forget it.
You've seen dead men before. Now, come on, pull yourself together.
Well, I'm doing my best, sir, but...
Couldn't you drive yourself?
Eileen.
Oh, I am sorry, sir. I didn't mean to be rude, but I just meant like today with Gates been all shook up. Couldn't you let him off?
Well, of course I could. The longer he leaves it, the harder it'll be. It's like being thrown from a horse. It's a sound principle to get straight back into the saddle. Stops you brooding and thinking about your nerve. Now, come along.
Who am I driving, sir?
Myself, Lady Bourne, and...
Does her ladyship know what happened, sir?
No, we thought it best not to tell her.
Go on, love. You'll be fine.
Morning, Commander.
Good morning.
You don't know me, do you?
Should I?
Some might think so, since I work in your fields. That is, I did work in them till yesterday, when your man Parry come down and sacked me.
Look, if you have a grievance...
Look after him, won't you? Make sure he's kept out of trouble, eh?
Arthur, what is it?
Help your lackey dodge a rat when the old village knows he killed a man.
You
Drive
making
it,
trouble again,
stick a
Bright?
drum.
Now, clear off.
Take your hands off. I got too little and at home I can't feed proper on the wages you pay me. And now you're even denying me them.
Now, look, this is neither the time nor the place. I suggest you come to see me at the estate office tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
What an extraordinary man. What did he mean?
That's a quick one for driving him home, eh?
No need to ask where you've been, I suppose.
Oh, can you guess?
I can make a deduction based on the incident outside the church, your gloomy silence at lunch, and your generally poor opinion of the condition of our cottages. You've been to see Bryce, my dear Watson.
Who has a desperately sick wife and is living knee-deep in filth. I've asked Dr. Bentley to look in again. It's chronic bronchitis.
Yes, and you want to have an argument about it.
Pointless. I want you to do something.
You could have chosen a better time.
Oh, you mean the perilous international situation?
Yes.
Father, I know you're very wrapped up in that. But you did find time to help Gates.
Help him?
Have a word in the policeman's ear.
Damn it, Liz, are you accusing me of something?
Yes, I suppose I am.
Of what precisely?
Of being more concerned to help Gates than help a wretchedly poor family.
Gates has been with me for years. He's an old and trusted servant.
Well, Bryce is your servant in a sense. He works on your estate.
Yes, only sporadically, it would seem, and I strongly object to this imputation that I've done something dishonest.
It's what they're saying in the village.
Well, you can tell them in the village that I put Gates through a pretty harsh cross-examination which finally convinced me of his innocence. Whatever happens now is entirely up to the coroner and the inquest. I have done nothing to pervert the course of justice.
Father, can't you understand that because of his position in relation to you, Gates has an advantage?
Oh, so I'm abusing my influence. Well, that's what you're suggesting, isn't it?
Father, no. I'm just asking you to show Bryce the same concern you're showing Gates. A defenseless man is being threatened by a bully. The bully is answerable to you. Ultimately, it's your responsibility.
Oh, who is this bully?
Parry, of course.
No, well, he came to see me. I was rather preoccupied.
Yes, it was the same 2 months ago, wasn't it? When the Woods were being evicted. Only then it was Austria being annexed. Now it's the Sudetans under threat, and you're preoccupied again, so you leave it to Parry.
Well, of course I leave it to Parry. He's a very capable and hard-working man, and he came to me with the highest possible recommendation. So naturally, I told him to handle it as he thought fit.
Yes, but he did that all right. Went straight down and sacked Bryce. Did he tell you about the wife and children?
No, only that the man was work-shy.
And that was enough!
Now, Liz!
Well, don't expect me to be impressed by your deep concern about international bullying when you allow the same thing to happen on your own doorstep.
All right, Liz. I'm seeing the man tomorrow. I'll do what's fair. He'll be on an equal footing with Gates.
Thank you.
By the way, is there any truth in the rumour that the man drinks? Bryce, I mean.
I shouldn't think any more than most. How could he afford to?
Or that he's a troublemaker?
What do you mean by that? That he's not afraid to speak his mind or to stand up for himself and his family?
Liz, are you seeing anyone in particular in Birmingham at the moment?
Is that as innocent as it sounds?
Oh, just curiosity.
Don't worry, they're all my own ideas. I'm not going out with some raving communist.
I don't know where he got hold of the idea from. But you mark my words, it'll be all round the village by now that I was driving stinking drunk.
Well, Constable Green don't think so, Fred. I mean, he made you walk that line, didn't he?
Well, that don't make no difference. It's been said, and said in public. And it'll be said again. You know what people are when they get hold of something nasty. What do you say, Mr. Parsons?
Well, I must confess to a nagging feeling that I'm to blame.
You, Mr. Parsons, now there's no call to blame yourself.
Yes, if you remember, it was I that brought the pale ale.
Yeah, but I only had 2 glasses.
Oh, yes, but it's on your mind, isn't it? You know that you've taken a drink, and that there's an element of truth in what Bryce is saying.
No smoke without fire. Yes, you can't help feeling that even when it's yourself involved.
That's plain daft, that is.
It's the human character, Mrs. Gates.
But how did he know? How did Tom Bryce know that I'd had a drink? What's that damn Bryce been doing? Peering through the window at us?
Again, I'm afraid I'm to blame.
Now, Mr. Parsons, you must stop this blaming yourself.
No, I'm quite serious. You see, when I was in the off-licence, Bryce came in just as I was telling Mrs. Patton that I was on my way over to Larkfield to see you.
So that's it.
Of course, there's no doubt in our own minds that Mr. Gates was quite sober at the time of the accident. But what about the man on the bicycle? What if he'd been drinking? Have you thought of that?
I don't know.
Well, I do. I saw him coming out of the Rainbow. He'd been drinking, all right. The problem is how to prove it.
He's a tricky customer. A real troublemaker.
Yes, so you said before.
I was only trying to point out that one has to watch him.
And I think I pointed out that I don't wish to discuss it further until he arrives.
That's typical. Can't even be in time to see you.
Yes, well, we have other things to discuss. The draining of Beecher's Pond, for instance.
Kept you gentlemen waiting, have they? Oh, I'm sorry about that. You see, I had a bit of waiting to do myself. For a doctor. Being a family man, you'll understand that, eh, Squire? You'll know all about the inconvenience of a sick family. Or perhaps yours is never sick on the food you give them.
Have you been drinking?
Oh, I've had a skinful.
Do you see what I mean? It's only just after 9. The commander's got a few words to say to you, Bryce, so pull yourself together.
Oh, I beg your pardon, sir.
Bryce, first I must tell you that your behaviour yesterday was utterly reprehensible.
Downright disrespectful.
Harry! There's a time and a place, Bryce. Remember that in future.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's very sound. I'll not forget that.
Mr. Barry tells me that you've been absent from work for the past 10 days. And this isn't the first time you've been away without permission. Now, you understand that is the reason why you're being dismissed.
I understand that's the reason he's given, yes.
You've got the worst record of any man on the estate.
And you know what, you toe rag.
Now, that's enough. Now, have you anything to say in mitigation?
Oh, yes, sir, but it won't cut much ice. There's my family. He knows all about my family.
And your drinking. And your political agitating. There's been no end of trouble with the man. He's a dedicated subversive and an inveterate troublemaker.
Oh, that's the truth of the matter. You'd do anything to get me out, wouldn't you? Scared the men might start asking for another shilling and the electricity put in. Make a few problems for you, that would, wouldn't it? Aye, any excuse.
That will do! Harry, why didn't you tell me about this man's problems with his family?
Well, you had other things on your mind, sir. In any case, his family's got nothing to do with it. I mean, look at him. Drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I must say, Bryce, your appearance here now in this condition doesn't help your case. It would seem to endorse what Mr. Parry's had to say about you.
You might not believe this, but I haven't touched a drop in 2 days. And what about you, Mr. Gates' drinking habits, then?
I'm going to make a decision about you today, Bryce. After I've been to your cottage and after I've spoken to the doctor.
Oh, I hope he'll tell you then.
What?
That he gave me a pill. I'm supposed to be in bed. I came here instead.
How are your wife and family today?
Oh, children as well as can be expected. People have been very kind. As for my wife, she's gone.
She's left you?
She's dead. They've just gone 5 this morning. But don't worry. Like I say, folks are rallying round. People can be kind.
And they've definitely started to move their troops back from the frontier? Oh. Well, it would seem as though the British and the French together can put a stop to this maniac's ambition. Yes, it's a great relief. Yes, I'll be in the Admiralty tomorrow. Goodbye. Come in. Oh, Parsons, what can I do for you?
I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. It's about Gates.
Oh?
Yes, sir, there's something I think you ought to know.
Oh, go on.
There's a story going about that Gates was inebriated, sir. Well, the truth of the matter is something entirely different. Mind you, inebriation does come into the story, sir, but it's a question of where or who.
Well, could you come to the point?
Yes, sir. On my way past the Rainbow Public House on Saturday, I was just walking past, you understand?
Yes.
Yes, I happened to see Mr. Reynolds, the old gentleman that Gates knocked down. He was walking towards his bicycle. He was in a severe state of inebriation, sir. Straggling along, grasping a bottle of whiskey, which he subsequently threw into the hedge.
Rather wasteful?
The bottle was, by this time, drained, sir.
Are you prepared to give this evidence to the coroner?
Certainly, sir, if you could tell me what I should do about it.
Yes, well, I'll have to phone the police, of course. They'll want to question you. Can you remember where he threw it exactly?
To within a few yards, sir.
Oh, that should do. Well, thank you, Parsons. I'll phone the police immediately.
Thank you, sir.
Liz?
You've heard about Mrs. Bryce?
Yes, I saw Bryce in the office. Naturally, I told him he can have his job back.
Good.
And that he can stay until he's got his life sorted out. Liz, how much do you think the condition of Bryce's cottage contributed to his wife's death?
Hard to say. Certainly didn't help.
No. Liz, I am so very sorry.
Yes, I think you really are.
I've told Parry to get some estimates for putting in main water, electricity, plumbing and so on. You know, general improvements.
That's a step in the right direction.
On the other hand, you must understand that Rice can't stay here indefinitely.
But why not? After what's happened...
Now, Liz, darling, listen to me. Don't let yourself be blinded by your sympathy for the underdog. There is no doubt that Bryce is a troublemaker.
But don't you understand...
Now, please, Liz, let me finish. This is only a small estate, and one man can cause a lot of unnecessary trouble.
Does Bryce know that he's only being kept on temporarily?
No, of course he doesn't, and he won't, till everything possible has been done for him. You can help there.
How?
We'll get together with Rosie Cartland and see what can be done for the children.
I'll do that, certainly. But in the long run...
Meanwhile, I'll have a word with Geoffrey Cartland and see if he can't get him a job at the works. He's expanding a lot these days with his armament contracts. And industry is used to men like Bryce.
That sounds horribly cynical.
Not cynical, Liz. Practical. I know you don't like the way society is organized at the moment, but, well, there it is. And we have to live in it.
The rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate.
Yes, if you like. But I promise you, we won't let Bryce go until everything possible has been done for him.
Do you know what Vicky said to me before she left for London with Klaus?
No.
Everything that matters is happening somewhere else.
Yes, well, she's young. She has some excuse. But I shan't forget what you said, Liz. Look after your own backyard, eh? I can't say much to comfort you in your loss, but perhaps I can do something practical. This. Well, it'll help towards paying someone to take care of the children.
Thanks.
Yes.
I'll look in and see the children tomorrow.
Thank you, West.
Why isn't dinner ready? Why does nothing happen at the right time anymore?
Granny, Mrs. Gates will bring it in as soon as we ring. Now, why don't you go and sit down?
What is that awful man doing here?
I'll explain later.
Well, you'll be wanting your dinner. I'll be going then.
Yes, well, good night, Bryce.
Oh, I hear things went well for Mr. Gates at the inquest.
Yes, it seems as though it was the old man who'd been drinking.
Makes you wonder, though, don't it? Old age pensioner forking out 12 and 6 on a bottle of whiskey. Now, if it had been half a bottle, that'd make more sense. Good night.
Well, Bright Eyes, what do you say to that? Do you want me to try and reopen the case?
I think you've had enough for 1 week.
Yes. Well, at least the news from abroad is held here.
Then let's all enjoy a quiet evening at home.
Let's go along in, shall we? If you're ready, Mother.
Ready, Arthur? I'm waiting.
Mm-hmm.